Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bracers Guild podcast. This time we're on season 2, or second chapter of
Season
the
2?
Bracers Guild. Season 2 of the podcast and the game? Question mark. This is the
How many
podcast where
seasons are we
we
gonna
play.
have?
God knows. I think the original estimate's something like 15. There's so many games. Now, hold on a goddamn second. We'll get into that in a moment. This podcast, for those that don't know, which how dare you if so, is the one where we go through every single Trails game, chapter by chapter. Joining me along this is this guy here. He's in the corner.
Yo, it's me.
Poke him. There you go. See, you poke him in the correct way, you get a good response. Here, if I just do it again. We did it.
Did we do
put
comedy?
it on? Yeah, we did it. I think so. One of us didn't get hurt. I think that's one of the prerequisites.
I don't think
Got a
so.
knife. I mean, I have a pair of scissors here. Can I just does that count? Slapstick? Oh, that's not a stick. It doesn't count. I'll just put it over to the side. Anyway, welcome
It's a
everyone.
very sharp stick.
It's a very star. Yeah.
It's no
Let me
slapstick.
get a
It's a
battle
stab
axe for
stick.
the slapstick.
Stab stick comedy.
Stab stick comedy. Oh my god! I guarantee you that's a thing. Actually,
Probably.
I don't want to know if that's a thing. It sounds like the thing that people would do at like a Renaissance fair. You know, like
What's
stab
a
stick
Renaissance
comedy.
fair?
Have you never seen a Renaissance fair?
I can assume what it means by like the name.
Yeah, it's a bunch of people get together. They cosplay as Renaissance. Well, in theory, Renaissance level, like medieval era nonsense. Those are completely two different time periods. But regardless, they dress up as like knights and stuff from the Renaissance period, and then they go and eat Renaissance food, and that's it. They also
Okay.
sometimes people cosplay as like goblins, which is nonsense because like they got
So it's
everybody
just like
knows-
medieval fantasy Renaissance.
Yeah, I mean, like, everybody knows the goblins got wiped out in the Fourth Crusade, right? So there's no point in cosplaying as such, but, you know, some people just, I guess, you know, it's the same people who, like, get really upset about, like, Vikings, I guess, like that show. That would be me in this case. Like, historical inaccuracies being a real issue, but whatever. It's the Ren Fair. You don't really take it too seriously, I guess. But you've never heard of that? Like, you've never done one? It's just everywhere.
No.
I can't
live in
go
a small
outside
town.
without somebody, like, grabbing me by the shoulders and screaming into my face about the Ren Fair.
Alex, I live in a small town.
Well, it sounds like you have a
We have
a thing you
nothing
have to do.
here.
You have dirt.
I guess we do have dirt. Also, I'm Brandon, by the way.
Oh, right. Yes. Man, we're great at this. Was this the 7th episode? Did I say my name?
I said your name, so it,
Oh, okay.
it worked out
That
in the
counts. Nice. We'll get there in the end.
end. In the end, welcome to the second game. It's
Yep.
we in it. I hope
Yes,
to
we
God
are
they're
in the
not.
game.
I hope none of these chapters are as long as chapters 2 and 4 of last game. I don't.
Well, we
wanna-
have learned the game is about the same length in 40 to 60 hours. The estimates are like 60, 65. Previous game took us 55 for me, and I think, 40 or 50 for you?
35.6. That's my
You said
time with
very,
it.
very quickly. 37.6. Gotcha. So 37.6, by the way, that is absurdly quick, versus 55.
I basically mainlined it. This time I'm gonna do some side quests, but you can't. But there's no side quest this chapter, so what you gotta
spoiler
do.
alert. But yeah, so there's 55 for me, there's 37 for him, and this last
37,
game, so the
35.
first chapter, so 35. Their first chapter had 5 chapters, including the prologue. So prologue 1, 2, 3, 4. This one apparently has 11, so prologue chapters 1 through 10. And they're around the same amount of time. So the estimates are around 60-ish if you mainline it. So I guess it's actually not the same. It's twice as long in your case. But for my case, it's about 20 hours more if I continue to do all the side quests and other associated content. So we're hoping the chapters will be smaller snippets and we won't get 7-hour-long podcast episodes. But we'll see.
We got close to 5 hours. Let's
Yeah,
hope that
that's-
doesn't happen again.
I don't know. Maybe they like it. Maybe the people who listen to this are actually just masochistic and they just.
Hey, I
it's
like
gonna get to the point-
long podcasts.
Yeah, I definitely listen to them enough to have an informed opinion on this topic. Especially one who co-owns a podcast. Yeah, I definitely know this. Anyway, it might be a good idea to move on from this topic right away, so that I continue to look as pure and innocent as I do, and talk about the game maybe, because we played the prologue. It's done now. Nobody else can ever do it again. Only us. This is your only source of information for this game for the rest of your life.
Let's start, shall we? Before we even open up the game, I completely forgot. You can transfer your save file from the first game to this game. I don't know what bonuses you get from it, but it's neat.
I do, and I will tell you later.
Cool.
Yeah. It's basically, you get like a flagged reward that's just like, hey, you played the last game. Good job, buddy. And that's it.
Okay. Yeah, because it's like, are you going to keep your ornaments? And then that gets quickly shot down.
Yep. Dude, I really miss when games used to do that. Where it's like, hey, we have a reason that you're restarting. Like the God of War series, every single time you played the main character,
or like
he was shot into like hell, or like all his powers were stripped away as like the very first thing that happened in the game.
That is like every Metroid game. It's like, oh, you were super powerful with this game, depowered.
Yeah. I think Ratchet and Clank, he gets thrown in jail at one point to try and depower him.
There's a lot of different ways. In this one, it makes sense. I feel like it makes sense, but it's still funny.
Yeah. The power level might be a little crazy, but again, we'll get into that in a bit.
Yeah. So we find Estelle asleep in bed, wakes up, and is like, this is nice. Nice dream. Wait, where did Joshua go? What's going on? She sprints out of the room immediately.
Does she even recognize that she's in Joshua's room, or?
I think she mentions it slightly. It's like, oh, this is Joshua's room. Why am I in here?
Yeah,
because it's like in kind of daze, and then like Estelle rushes out and sees Sharon. It's like, basically goes, "Where's Rachel? Where is she?" It's like,
dons on a Batman mask and is like, "Where'd she go?"
It's like, where did Joshua go? And it's like, I don't know. I thought he was with you. Cassius might know. I was like,
Cher
where's
responds
Cassius?
with just like donning a giant smile and being like, "Well, you see." Do you want to know how I got these cards? This one's the Joker. The fool.
The fool.
So dumb.
That's more a jester. More a jester than a Joker.
Well, I don't know. They can be swapped, probably.
I guess, yeah.
One can poke fun at the king. The other one just gets shot in the streets like an animal.
Yikes. Shara says Cassius might know where Joshua is and that he's on the terrace. So like Estelle's like, cool, gotcha, leave him. And I was like, what the fuck? Shara goes like, what the fuck's going on with you?
Yeah.
Oh god, notes don't lag on me.
Basically, she runs out there and she's like, and Cassius is there looking off in the distance, turning around like the wind fluttering in his hair.
He's got a new suit. He's got a military suit on now.
Yeah, because he's like Mr. Big Shot now because he's reforming the military and junk.
Mm-hmm.
So he's sitting there all stately on a hill, and he's just about ready to mansplain all over on Estelle. Like, just absolutely dump it out on her.
He says that Joshua left a note about his departure, and then he also kind of delves into like the backstory of like their like encounter with each other. He mentions that Joshua has like supernatural abilities, and he almost got owned by 11-year-old, which is very funny.
Yeah. Yes.
Because the way that like Joshua states it in his backstory, he seems like he was easily handled by Cassius, but like from his perspective, it's like he barely won.
Dude, that 11-year-old nearly bodied me.
Yeah.
What's great too is like I think canonically not even like a day later, Estelle goes in there and gets sassed from Joshua and responds by drop kicking him in bed.
Yeah.
Which is just like she has balls of steel. And I love it too because it makes a lot more sense for the whole like Joshua bad mouthing Cass. You'll regret this, old man. It's like, yeah, you literally brought an assassin into your home.
Yeah. I mean, Cassius is like the strongest man alive, so I mean,
Yeah,
he can do it.
like he's literally Son Goku. So
Yeah. Kakarot. She asked why he brought Joshua back home that day.
I think he just literally responds with like, "Well, I could tell that there was something missing, and like he had a pure heart deep down, and like I could basically he was like I can fix him."
Yeah, it's kind of like it was like his choice or like chance to like give him like a free life to like set him free from the society.
Yeah.
And apparently, the Society of Ouroboros, not the Grandmaster Society, I guess in a sense it is, but like the Society of Ouroboros, which is a very funny name, a secret organization that manipulates the world from the shadows. And shadow ops.
Yeah. Just classic bad guy in it.
Classic. In the note, Joshua also relays kind of like the betrayal that's happened over the past 5 years. So like now he's caught up with that whole situation. And basically Cassius and Joshua made like a kind of agreement that
The dumbest friggin' agreement I've ever heard in my life. And this is framed, by the way, in like a manly kind of like, yeah, of course, dude. I'd do that for you, dude. So dumb. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Tell the people.
the relationship is like once Joshua started becoming more involved with society again, he would go away for forever, or if he started becoming more like a danger. And like obviously Cassius doesn't want Estelle to pursue this shadow organization, but you know, we're an anime character full of piss and vinegar, so it's like that's a no from us, Chief.
Yep.
We're gonna do it. And then it's like Estelle says that she hates Cassius and like runs off.
Yep.
And then Cher comes.
I'd like to point on that he does say terms like "from a man's perspective," that it's for the best, which is amazing. Like he just straight up mansplained. That wasn't even me joking. It's framed like, oh, it's amazing.
Yeah,
and
because
Shara follows it up and goes like, "From a man's perspective, it makes sense. But can I offer you like a woman's perspective?" And he's like, "Sure." And she's like, "You're an insensitive jerk." It's awesome.
Oh man, so many insensitive jerks this pre-prologue.
Oh yeah, man. There's like at least 2, unless we count the guard and the kid. I think I count the kid.
At this point, Estelle just goes hard delusional mode and thinks, Joshua's back home. And just like, everything's normal after a conversation with a guard on the street. It's like,
Yeah,
because
she's
she like
run out
collapsed.
to the city. She's like fallen on the ground. She's just absolutely out of her mind. I'm imagining like her pupils have dilated. She's grabbing her head, classic anime style, like, and this guard comes over. He's like, "Dude, you okay? You should probably go home." And she's like, "Of course, he's gonna be waiting at home in my room." Because that's what you do when you drug somebody. And tell
She's
them
so
I never
normal.
want to see you again.
She is so normal.
Absolutely. She still likes him, by the way.
Title drop. True to the Sky, second chapter. Woohoo. We see Estelle's gotten on one of the airships back to Rolent. Estelle reflects back on what Joshua said to her on the roof. And reflects kind of like that whole situation with Joshua on the roof. And then Insensitive Jerk, the name that the gave us, not us, interrupts and just kind of starts hitting on her.
Yeah, he's literally like, I see a pretty girl over there who's looking pretty down, and I can't help but come over to try and make her feel better. And it's like in a manner of like, I'm the whole package, lady. Like, just be around me, and I'll make you feel better just by my natural charisma. It's abysmal, but
This insensitive jerk is Kevin Graham, a priest of the Septium Church, a quote unquote wandering priest, quote unquote, of the the central continent of the holy city of Artria.
I don't know. I didn't really pay attention to where he came from that much.
Yeah, I just wrote it down. Artria. It's like seems like that's kind of like the almost like a neutral ground compared like to like the countries.
Like the Vatican.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Vatican.
Yeah.
Or have you ever played Three Houses or seen Three Houses? Okay.
No idea what you're talking about. I don't even have a house right now. I'm not even on the level of 3. Not even close.
This dude's kind of fuck boy.
Oh, for sure. And he's a tech bro too, as we learn later, which is even better.
He basically goes around and offers church services to basically where there are no churches. So like just to like small towns, like here's the teachings. Whatever.
Yeah, he is the guy who goes to your town and forces upon you Bible studies. Doesn't he sound great? Hey kids, let's all talk about Jeebus.
No, adios. It's adios.
Idos, yes.
Yeah.
Not adios. Idos.
Adios, amigos.
Adios.
That'd be
That
very
was the
funny.
last thing Idos bestowed upon the city, or the Septians.
Oh man, that
That's
play
where
would
they got
have
her name.
ended really differently if it ended with
Adios, amigos.
amigos.
Yeah.
During the conversation, Estelle does a little breakdown again, but gets back up quickly. We learn all about this stuff about Kevin, and then Estelle does a little distancing of herself from being Joshua's sister, just slightly.
Yeah. She responds. She says, like, I'm looking for my brother. He makes a joke about it being her boyfriend. Like, this dude must be your boyfriend or whatever. And she responds with yes.
Not
Basically.
not in like
She, from that point on, she
head.
acts as though it's her boyfriend. Like, kinda, yeah. And it just
Kind
moves on from that. Yeah.
Because it's like an internal thought, not like an external thought.
Does she not explicitly say that?
No, it's internally she says it. It's like, no, maybe that doesn't sound too bad. In her head is the way that was.
Either way, it's still weird, guys. That hasn't changed.
Yeah. We arrive back in Relent, and Kevin's like, hey, let me escort you back home. Because secretly he's worried a lot.
He sees a lady who's going through like the 7 stages of grief, or the 5 stages, but she's added 2 extra: delusion and nonsense.
Yeah, and he has to like report to like the church anyhow. So it's like, I'm going to do my rounds. And then here is where you can freely go around and talk to all the NPCs from the first town. And they all have fun and unique things to say. Didn't really write anything down. I remember like the kids be like,
Yeah. So
aha, I'm going to.
okay, I've written it down. I
Okay.
got this. Yeah. So there's a kid in the town named Luke, right? This is
Yeah,
the same Luke in the first game that you saved because he was trying to be a badass to impress you. When you talk to him this game, he reveals, and you're going to need to sit down for this, he's been training for days just to beat Estelle. Days! So
Forgot about that.
he basically says he's going to beat her up and that he challenges her to a duel, to which she responds with, nah, I don't really want to. I'm busy. And he's like, what? How could you? And that's the end of the interaction, basically. But it's amazing. Unfortunately, she doesn't say anything if you go to the tower, because I was hoping she'd say something
me
like,
too.
I don't want to go to the top of the clock tower.
Or like when you go to the top of Clock Tower, it'd be like something like
Yeah. And if you go to the receptionist, she's basically like, "Oh, you're here. Why?"
yeah.
So ultimately, it's a bunch of fluff. And then you go to the mansion, I guess, unless you have anything that you've written down regarding this.
Not written down. I remember the girl. It was like, I don't know if I remember like Scoop, but like the one of the first was like, oh, who's this new boyfriend? Ooh, this love triangle is getting intense with Kevin now around.
Estelle is just like a walking, like any man who is in like direct relation to her. She'd come with Zin, and it would be like, "Oh my god, he's like 50 years older than you. Must be your new boyfriend, you fox." Like the townspeople, jeez. They just need drama. They're starved for it, Brandon. We have to
They're
give the people
bored.
what they need. They're bored.
It's a small town. You gotta take what you got. They're
Yeah,
like
they're
a
just
farming
shoveling
town.
dirt into their mouth. They're like, God.
But they have a mine, a farm.
Yeah.
You think they have anything exciting like fancy stores and bows and Grand Seal?
Yeah, bows. Like the kind you put on your head? Is that what's necessary? Is that what the
Yeah,
the
it's my
great
current
Roman
headphones.
emperor
Yeah.
said? Give them bows and circuses and they'll be happy.
I'm a huge bows enthusiast.
First goggles, now bows. Nonsense.
We return home, and Estelle is still in hard coat mode. It's like, oh, he must be in here. Leaves, and then Kevin's like, oh, brother.
He has to straight up steel himself, take a couple breathers, and like, this is gonna be rough. Then we cut to the inside with Estelle, basically like, he must be in here, searching around drastically. Wanders in the kitchen, nobody's there. Wanders up the stairs, goes to her room. Her justification, by the way, being fantastic. She forgot to put her underwear away, so of course that's where he would be, because that just makes sense. Goes into her room, and obviously, he's not there. So she continues to cope hard and goes, of course, let's go to his room instead. Wanders out, and then basically just collapses, thinking that she's an idiot. It just kind of all hits her at once. She's like, what am I doing?
Yeah, Estelle finally exits coat mode,
Yeah.
which is, I think this is the dumbest Estelle's ever been.
I don't know. The Princess Claudia thing was pretty bad.
I think this is worse, because this is like
don't
a
know.
conceited effort and like delusion.
Yeah, this is willful ignorance, though. The Claudia thing was just straight up idiocy. She was talking to a person, thought it was the princess. The princess in her head said, I'm Chloe. And all of a sudden, the person in front of her like morphed into another being who wasn't the princess anymore. I don't think she could top that. Regardless, I think she leaves the room, or
No, she's collapses in the room, and then Kevin kind of tries to confront her.
confronts
her.
the final boss.
Yeah, wrong word. Comfort her.
Yeah, really
And asks
the wrong word.
And he tries to go
I
like,
love confronting depressed people.
he asks if anything sus was going on with him, and then Estelle kind of like takes a moment to like reflect. Is like, what was the moment where Joshua started acting weird, and has flashbacks of like certain moments. But the one that's most interesting is the one where Wiseman is erased from her memory,
Whoa.
like blurred
We
out.
don't know if it's Wiseman. It could be anybody.
It could
Who
be any.
else could have been in that exact scene, in that exact position, with that exact sequence? No, we have no idea. The face is blurred.
But this is like, it still goes from like the dumbest person to like, oh my god, wait, Estelle, you're thinking? She has a brain blast of the exact moment where Joshua starts becoming weird, and then she connects the puzzle pieces in her brain that the person that left the area was the magician that's controlling this. Good job, Estelle. for piecing
Yeah.
things together. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I was pretty surprised when I got that too.
It was like, wow, she genuinely good intuition.
That was the writers coming down from the heavens and whispering into her ears.
And then all of a sudden, Cassius and Shara comes into the room, which Kevin contacted. I don't know when he had the time to leave. I think he went like by the branch or on the ship, probably on the ship. That is like, hey, she's not doing well.
I think he explicitly mentions he goes to the Bracers Guild branch.
Which is insane. Like, how
Yeah.
could they get there that fast?
I mean, he seems like the roguish type, I'll be frank.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he just slipped out while she was talking to the child. Which canonically everybody has to talk to Luke, or you've just done something wrong and you need to restart your whole playthrough.
Yeah. Cassius admits, I was being a little too forward there. Now that I've gotten a talking to, I give you my blessing to get Joshua back and defeat Ouroboros.
I, as the big burly man, the strong, powerful man, bestow upon you the gift of being an independent woman. Which he uses, by the way, the explicit terms of "you are an independent woman." So, canonically, Cassius is a feminist, as we
Much
learned
better
here.
than being
or at least after
misogynist.
Shara. Well, I mean, he was pretty close before, but I guess Shara beat the tar into him.
And then, that's basically how much I got really from this scene. I don't know if there's much more before we get into like, the intro.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know if there's. There's probably like.
I'll
Does this
just mention
happen?
the
Does
Loch
this
Ness
happen
stuff, and
now,
then we'll
or
just
does
move
it
on
happen
from
in
there.
like the flashback kind of like thing, where we?
I don't think it goes into as much depth, but it doesn't really matter if we do it in the flashback or now.
We can do it now. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Basically, what happens is Cassius is telling Estelle, now that you're going to go and bring my damned fool of a son back, actual wording, I need to train you up because you are incompetent. You've been leaning on Joshua. He's been doing a bunch of the work, and you need to become more independent as a bracer. So what we're going to do, I have a secret military base that's outside of the grounds of Liberal. It's, I think, east. Is it east? It's in neutral territory,
It's-
regardless of where it is.
Yeah.
It's called Le Locla. You're going to go there for 2 months, and you're going to go and train in the Elite Bracers Guild. I don't remember if we know who's training her before we go, but regardless, it's Kirk who's training her. So that group of bracers is going to help her out. And she's going off there for 2 months. When she gets back, the theory is she'll be competent enough to work more independently and properly for the status of bracer that she is. Because canonically at this point, she's still technically not very proficient in even like basic combat, which is wild because I think she's like 35 by default. But yeah, it really makes me question what level 1 is in this world.
Yeah, and that information comes before we get a little intro cinematic. It is much shorter than the previous one. Previous one
Thank
was like
God.
3 minutes. This one's like a minute and like 20 or something. Doesn't really give too much besides like there's tanks and like mechs.
Yeah. There's like, it's not even just tanks and mechs, it's tanks that transform into mechs. Which is awesome. And also, how the hell did the Abronium Empire ever lose? They have actual Gundams.
Listen, air fleets.
Yeah, big balloons.
This time the intro doesn't give away any hints of the villains because we already know who we're fighting this time.
Yeah.
We don't have the shot of Richard with the red wine glass sitting in the chair.
Is that actually in the first one? I forgot.
Yeah,
that.
that's why I thought he was evil. It was that one shot, and I was like, I had that vague thing. It was like he was in that shot for like some reason like that.
Yeah. I mean, he looked like he was dressed up as, yeah, but we already talked about that.
Yeah. But anyways, prologue begins.
Yeah. And we start with Estelle and Annalise, quote unquote, beating the stuffing out of each other. By the way, I want to mention Estelle has a new armor set, and so does Annalise.
Annalise
Estelle's-
doesn't.
Does she not? They mentioned that she does get a new one, but
The outfits
I guess
are not new. Because Estelle gets a new outfit, which is...
and literally the only thing that's changed is she gets, like, I think an overcoat and
Like overcoat.
shoulder pad.
shoulder pad, and then the color change.
Yeah, and that's it. And apparently this is too cutesy for her, which is intriguing because I don't get that at all. But I don't know. I'm a man, so maybe there's something I don't understand
I guess
here.
the color palette. I guess. I'm
The
sad
very
to lose.
slight turquoise.
I'm sad to lose the red. Like, I'm not a huge fan of like this new like outfit. I like the old one better.
I think the new one. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I like the red palette a little bit more than like green and like orange.
Like the green, blue, orange. Yeah, I quite like this new one actually more so than the other. It feels more like an adventure-y kind of thing or scrappy kind of deal. It feels more realistic.
I like her portrait so much more. Her portrait art, new portrait art in like the pause menu is really good. Mm-hmm. And Scherer gave her these clothes as kind of like a senior bracers present. So that's the justification of the new outfit.
Yeah. Though there's a bunch that can be said about that, which I think maybe we'll get into.
Yeah.
I especially like the notion of independence, but for now,
just
when
Estelle and
they're-
Annalise are just kind of
they're
like
just
training
beating each other up.
Yeah, and it's
Go
go for
okay,
it.
you or me?
No, just go for it.
Okay, cool. They are fighting in a way that kind of is somewhat interesting because there's this notion that Annalise has been beating Estelle with using a singular move over and over and over and over and over again as like a win button. And at the end, it turns out that Estelle kind of like you just see like a moment of her growth, and the moment of her growth is literally sidestepping, turning around, and smacking Annalise on the back of the head. So I think we've learned here that Estelle is just particularly bad at thinking during combat because apparently her old strategy was just sitting there while she got attacked. So maybe that's the difference, is hitting hard and then moving a bit. While they're doing the training, it is revealed that this is by Kurt, which I already said prior, and Phyllis, I believe, comes out. She is the innkeeper of La Locla. I think innkeeper would be the correct term for it. She makes breakfast, and apparently she's quite good at it. So during the fight, after they're done, they basically shake hands. I think they talk briefly about a new mechanic that'll be introduced later, which is like a multi-chain
or like
attack
a meeting
thing.
or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then they get greeted into the inn where they're going to have breakfast because apparently they haven't done that yet.
Annalise's whole thing last game was calling us a newbie, but she was also pretty new to this whole senior bracer thing. So she just her reason to come out here is like, okay, I also want to get better because like she'd only been like a senior bracer for like 6 months. So like by like when we met her, she was only a senior bracer for like 4 months, which is weird.
Well, it's like the classic like projection of like, you know, it's like you're senior by like a month, and she's like, haha, I finally have somebody new to lord over. I'm not the one on the bottom of the totem pole. You are now. We also learned from Annalise that we actually get a pretty in-depth explanation of her personality this game so far. To put a long story short, she likes adorable things, and she is adorable, and you should pat her head when given the opportunity. And that's basically it. She says explicitly, after a very, very long rant, that no, it's not just being cute for the sake of being cute. That isn't important. It's because we're bracers. We have to look great. It is our duty. So Annalise has the right priorities, I think.
Cuteness is justice. Blah. This conversation was like, really? For going with this is your personality? Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome because it's like we've had so many serious characters, and we have Annalise, which is like the perfect. It's not a foil at all, but it's like it's very similar to Estelle in another kind of way, with like the very lighthearted, like not really just out there. It's straight up personality. I like it. She also goes off on teddy bears quite a bit. She's an avid collector. It's really good. I think it's awesome.
I think we do some mechanic stuff, and then blah blah blah. We get into a meeting with Kurt.
Well, specifically, before we end up doing any of that, during breakfast, we learn that they accidentally stuffed themselves silly because there's a plan with Kurt today to wrap up training as a whole. So they're getting like extra all prepared for it. Estelle kind of is a little bit spaced out during this whole thing. At the very end of breakfast, they kind of quickly mention with Estelle's internal process that she is kind of still focusing on Joshua and is slowly kind of pushing into that. Now I kind of am curious, like, what kind of capabilities I have with this final mission compared to before. So she's actually very excited to see how competent she's become. When she goes to her room, hold on one sec. Yes. So before she goes to Kurt, there's a moment where they kind of like leave. I think this is what you were talking about with the mechanics, where it's like you can go to Phyllis or whatever. Or this might be a little bit before that. But you have to get prepared to go out, obviously. So you go to your room, and it's revealed. First off, I want to point out, Estelle has like 7 pairs of shoes, which is way too many shoes. She has like 3, like just there, and she's wearing some.
Listen, she's a shoe enthusiast.
Yeah, she's an actual sneakerhead canonically. Yeah. But like 3 of these are boots. So I guess. Also, she has Joshua's harmonica. It's in her bag, and you can actually inspect it. It's just there, which is nice. I think I actually wrote down specifically what she has in her bag. Yes. So at this point, we're also given the ability to look at what is in her bag. There's her standard junior bracer emblem. So apparently you get to keep on to that. And then there's on top of that, a new senior bracer emblem. I thought it was interesting that we had both. You start with some books. Of course, Joshua's harmonica, which was already stated, and the map of Lelokla. If you look at the map of Lelokla before you head out, it's split into 4 regions, and from south to north, they are the Grimsel Fortress, the St. Croix Fortress, the Balstar Channel, and then where we currently are, which is the Guild Lodge. After all of this, we finally go downstairs to meet Kurt and Annalise, and that is where I will defer to Brandon, because we finally caught up with him.
Yeah. We sit down with Kirk. What the fuck?
Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk. Jesus. We sit down.
I told you it was sci-fi.
The truest sci-fi. We sit down with Kurt, and he's like, "Your old orbital clocks, not good enough. They're useless if you're going to go against the society. You're going to need this new clock. It's now silver. Ooh."
As a whole other slot for another orbital. Or whatever they're called, orbiment.
Yeah, I think it has an extra... it has a specifically extra slot, and it's like... They say it's like you can have more EP. Your EP potential has increased, and they kind of theorize that, like, due to Lawrence's moves last game, it's like, oh, we couldn't do those. They probably had, like, one of these, like, upgraded, like... bracer, orbital clocks.
Well, it actually goes farther than that too. They explicitly say like, "Hey, you remember Lawrence's old moves? Yeah, that particular move is known as like 6 Winds or something like that, and you can do that with this, but you can't do it with the old one."
Yeah, it's like Silver Thorns or something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, that that Lawrence's was using. But through this chapter, we know it's Louis, I guess. Loewe. Louis? Is that how you say Louis?
I don't think Louis doesn't. I mean, Louis. If it's like French-esque, I thought it was like Low.
Is it Loe?
Or like Lou? Lou?
Like Louis? Louis?
Louis doesn't seem right because there's no I or U or anything. It's Lowe.
No, it's Loewe. That's how.
There's not another E, is there? It's Lowe.
No, it's. I also thought it's. I looked back. It was Loewe. So I think it's Louis. Louis.
Hold on. You're going to want to cut this. Oh, does he get another name? Jesus Christ.
I mean, he also has.
This is his second name, and there's like 3 that's given to this guy.
Well, he's also it's also Mr. Blade Lord.
It is actually Louis.
Louis.
The Japanese pronunciation is Ruby. So, Ruby. So, Louis.
Yeah, Louis.
I wish I want to tell you his other name so bad because it's so fucking dumb.
Dumber than Blade Lord?
No, that's the exact the Blade Lord.
No,
They say it in this chapter.
Yeah, they say it. No, this is no. They say it in this chapter. It's Mr. Blade Lord.
So dumb.
It's because every character in Trails has to have like a nickname.
Yeah.
Like Charizard is the Silver Streak. Cassius is the Divine Blade.
Mm-hmm. Even though he uses a stick now, but I guess back from his war days.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no.
Mm-hmm. Estella's the dumb twat.
But regardless, that means we have to get rid of all of our ornaments and start over.
Yeah.
So
we get the option.
I was hoping to keep. Yeah, it was like, but is it really an option? Do you want? It's like get rid of all these stuff or become more powerful.
Yeah, especially because later you learn that the new powerful is basically your old spells are as powerful as your new ones for less EP. So it's literally like instead of doing super fireball, you just do like the normal fire again, and it's the same damage as super fireball. So it's just like everything gets a buff to the point where it's like if you went to Final Fantasy 10 and it was like you're doing Viagra and it's like 1,000 damage, and then you go to the next game, it's like, you can't do Viagra anymore, you're gonna get weaker, and it's like, okay, and you play Fire and it's 1,000 damage, and you're like, oh wait, or Fire, I guess it's 1,000 damage. So it's like assumedly you'll go up to the ridiculous quantity as you continue on. So it's not even really a choice, which is fair because they mull it over and they also conclude like we'll just do it.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
This is where I want to get into to new gameplay stuff. Mm-hmm. In terms of new spells, we got space attacks. Those are new, and then like each element has like at least 1 or 2 new things. Haven't really looked into them that much, but like supports and like whatnot. But like the biggest thing that I noticed is like some of the new ornaments having like having like elemental like stuff in them. So it's not just like, oh, here's like the special extra thing is like a space time or what's the fuck's the white one? Mind, yeah.
I think so,
instead of like those 3 is just like an extra bonus, some will get like, ooh, like 2 red, 2 brown in an instance, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And also in chests now you can find Septium, which is like so nice. It's like rewards you. Like go into the chest, you don't have to grind. Just man, this game feels like a real video game.
So far, yeah, it's actually starting to feel like it evolved and changed a little bit more than we thought it would, which is nice.
To the level of like, these are good stuff.
Yeah.
Also, the biggest new thing is instead of unlocking slots, you upgrade slots into like tier, like up to like a tier 2 thing, which is I like this system much more because then you have like tier 2 ornaments that you can like slot in, which are more powerful.
Yeah, and a good example of a tier 2 orbiment is that they combine the information orbiment and the eagle eye orbiment into one and give it at the start of the game, which I think is funny because I never took those off in my first game. It was just like, yeah, why would you ever? You can see enemies now. You couldn't before. The next game, they're just going to give it to us without actually plugging it into the normal system. Watch.
One thing I'll say against this system, it still has that problem of if a character
Mr.
leaves,
Debbie Downer.
if a character leaves and you upgraded their slot, you don't know how long they're gonna be gone.
Ooh, but I want to give a positive that's different. So I was looking through the previous game and I noticed every single character only has 2 lines. One
Agate
of the statements that we
Agate
made.
has 4. 4 or 3.
Okay, well, regardless, the vast majority of characters have 2 lines.
Yeah.
One of the statements that we made, well, actually, this even goes further. One of the statements we made was that at the end of the game, you have a character that can effectively do 2 things, and then everything else they can kind of do a little bit of, and then that was it. This game, everybody by default seems to have 3, and there are more orbital slots in general.
Does Estelle? I don't remember Estelle's.
Estelle has 3. She has 1 top, 1 bottom left, 1 bottom right. It's just like a
I didn't
outward spiral
remember
thing.
looking because I was more interested in Annalise's because she's now a party member, which is cool, and has like 4 lines, which is kind of insane. Basically, wind in the center. That's kind of like her main thing, but like the green line has like another like wind thing, so that's like your wind slot. But then you have like other options, which is like nice. So it's like, here's some character building. That's nice. Hopefully the other characters have like similar things, but I'm still worried because like the way that we've played Trails up to this point, we basically play until like we could save before like a chapter end, but now you can like save in between chapters. But we're also still going, so it's like we kind of debated like, is like the scene past like the save chapter point like a post credit scene into the chapter like 1 thing. So we're gonna still cover like that like normal. So we kind of know some stuff about chapter 1, very first scene.
Man, that was a transition and a half.
It was.
You're just like orbital. Also, the podcast might fundamentally change. I want to complete my thought here quick too, if that's okay.
Yeah.
The thing I'm excited for is since we have more orbital slots and we have more lines, we might have characters that are better at doing more things at once. Or at the very least, like have more utility other than just being able to do their 1 big spell or whatever, their 2 big spells, which is exciting. Also, we didn't mention it. We kind of skipped it over. Currently, in our headspace, but we're not saying it out loud because we're silly and we've only done 7 episodes. But the context is we are told by Kurt that we want to go to a aqueduct, effectively. So our final training mission is supposedly to go to this aqueduct, and you kind of get the option to actually look through all this kind of stuff here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna essentially just lead into that.
Yeah, I did it for you, so haha. Co-host self high five. Woo!
Yeah. Now, since we got to do the sewers as our like last training thing, do all this prep work, go meet up. This whole section, you don't really have like routes in between things. You just have like specific areas because, you know, saving budget, and like you're not gonna be here for like the entire game. So it's just
routes. Sorry.
Routes in between areas like the previous game, because it's just this prologue section. We're only gonna be here once.
Oh yeah, we didn't even mention that. The new way of traveling. I'm hoping they keep this for the next chapter because this is really cool.
They won't. This is a budgetary thing of them not like wanting to do routes. So here's
okay, because I would really quite like it if they did this. But to explain it quick, so we're not just talking about an abstract idea that we haven't actually mentioned yet. You get a map to traverse between individual regions, which I've already mentioned prior, with the 4 spots that you can go to. And it's basically fast travel. So they're like, hey, go to this location, and you click it, you go poof, and you're gone. I'm hoping that we get access to skyships this time, and we get to do something like traveling between cities. I'm not sure that that'll happen, but this made me think that the mechanic exists in the game, so there's the possibility they could just transport it over a bit. Because there was a couple times in the previous game where I was curious like how the other towns are going, and I was confident that if I tried to walk there, it would stop me. So if they open up the game world enough to be like, hey, you know, you got a side quest in that city, that'd be pretty cool. Like a little bit more free form, especially since we've already been here. We've explored the whole map, so
yeah. I don't know how like that structure is going to be, but I hope it's less linear and like you can't go to this region.
Yeah. It'd be cool to like have to chase like sky pirates or whatever the equivalent is in this game. And like, oh, they were last spotted at this region. And so you have to like do the detective work or whatever. Or I guess Joshua in this case. But yeah. So after traversing, you're at the aqueduct and Kurt is there. And he's like, hey, so this is where you're going to be. This is your final mission. There is a document at the end of the sewer. Go grab it.
Yep, go grab it.
And that's it. And he's like,
it.
I'll see you there.
See you there. And then
and the girls are like, okay. And they walk about 5 feet. They find a monster. And Emily stops you to review the basics.
Yeah. And I skipped that.
I did as well, which is funny because it kind of expected it because it gave you the option, but also like it does like a weird transition between the first monster and the second monster. And so it just kind of like acts as though you won a fight, which is like, I guess you did, but you're not actually present for it if you skip it. So keep that in mind. You get to the second fight and Annalise is like, stop. I want to try out this new thing that we've been learning, the double attack or the triple attack or the N attack or whatever, multi-attack. And basically what it is you can spend currently 20 CP. I don't know if that'll stay that way.
It'll probably be different
for each character that's within the radius of the monster that you're attacking and within the radius of each other, you can attack a particular monster at the same time. So
yeah,
in the
you basically
example
get
application,
you get a team up move essentially.
Yeah, basically. But you can team up with as many party members as you have CP. So if everybody has 20 CP and they're all on this top of this one monster, basically everybody gets a free turn, which is amazing.
Well,
it's literally a free turn. It's quite literally like a free turn. You're exchanging CP for an attack.
Yeah.
Like if you have like 100 CP, you can now make the argument as like, do I need to do my ultimate ability or should I just do like a round of like...
You always do your ultimate ability.
No, because the two of them did 1,000 damage. Over 1,000 damage. Estelle's ultimate did 1,000 damage.
For me, the ultimate still did way more than those team up attacks.
Yeah, for me it was 1,000 damage for... Then I don't know if one of us read it wrong. But for me, it was like they were roughly equivalent, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. It may not have been roughly equivalent. I think it was 2,000 for the ability and 1,000 for both of them to attack. But 4 people attacking, in theory, that's 2,000 because they were doing around 500 or 600 together, right? Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Also, Annalise has a fun move set. She has a lot of like different. I don't remember the arts abilities because those are you put on whatever. But her crafts,
and you wouldn't want to do it with her because she's got the ability to drop kick people, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, she has like a lot of like debuffs. She has like attack delays. Like she has like I'll boost myself up with strength and then lower my defense.
Pedal dance. It's really good.
Oh yeah, like her ultimate ability is pretty decent damage dealing. Same with she has like almost like an area effect craft thing, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really good. She has 2 separate abilities where she launches the enemy in the air. Her animations are actually really cool. Mm-hmm. It's kind of disappointing going from like Estelle because she's got like the old movesets, and it's like first game baggage, and then the second game it's like.
Well, the thing is,
Annalise coming in with like actual animations and things that are interesting visually on the screen when she attacks.
I mean, the thing is, those are basically the same animations from the Colosseum fight, essentially, because I remember Annalise doing like the air thing in the previous game.
Okay, well then they just should have given like any other character a more interesting animation.
Yeah, because
when
like
Estelle's
basically I don't think really has a new move. Yeah, it doesn't have any new moves. No, I don't think so. Just has the same old moves from the old game. Mm-hmm. Annalise's my favorite quote for win quote for Annalise is, "I'm invincible."
What she does all the time.
Or am I?
It's so dumb. I'm invincible. Or am I? It's like, what does that mean? What's the implication? Like, are you just being like, is there like a moment where you're like, wait, am I? Or is it a moment where it's like, I'm being facetious? But it's like, what are you being facetious about? Is that supposed to be a taunt? Like,
and it was at this point
like 70 times.
And it was at this point I was like, this, I know this voice actor. Who is this? And then I look it up, and it's Cassandra Lee Morse. aka Morgana from Persona 5. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. You cast her as this kind of like a bubbly character. And also
Yeah.
side tangent. Every time I look up like who voiced this character in an anime or like a game, like 70% of the time they voice a character in Trails. Like every single time, it's like, oh, you voiced a character in Trails. Neat, I guess.
Trails is a weirdly like influential
There's,
game.
like,
I feel
There's like
for
so
maybe
many
for
fucking
people's
characters.
careers more so than the
Because-
actual industry.
Because like 2010 is like when basically like the 2010s is when these games got localized, so like a lot of like more like anime voice actors that are like doing stuff at the time are still like around, so it's like you're gonna get a bunch of them. Like Johnny Young Bosch does Joshua. I was like, yeah, that's an appropriate casting role for him.
What else does he do?
He does Ichigo from Bleach. He's also Dachi from Persona 4 / the protagonist. I don't know what else he does.
Unfortunately, I don't know that man that well. I'm kind of new to the world of JRPGs, so.
Don't worry, I'll guide you.
Well, first we got to get through these 15 fucking games. This will be my entire life's work. Will be this goddamn podcast.
But anyways, oh my god, Alex, guess what?
The dungeon has interesting puzzle mechanics.
The dungeon has mechanics.
The dungeon has something other than walking a straight line killing things.
Yes.
You have
not,
the ability to turn on levers, and sometimes the water changes, but you can't swim or anything, so the water changing just means effectively a bridge.
yeah,
That's it.
it's not much, but oh my god, we got puzzle solving. Look at that.
Yep.
Also, I forgot
there are
if
two
you-
types of levers too, and they just have different animations, but they do the exact same thing.
Also, they're way too long and I wish you could skip them.
Yes, absolutely. So they did one good thing and several bad.
At least it was
Or
like
mediocre.
Ooh, it was like, ooh, can do stuff. And also, I forgot if you like talk to the chest twice, they all have like a different dialogue. So I did that a little bit. I don't really
Brandon-
remember any of the dialogue though.
You had one, because obviously like we send things back and forth while we're playing the game that are funny. He had one that was like, was it like advertising? You can put your something here for blah 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 septium a month or whatever. And then I got one that was like an advertisement. I was like, that's neat. That's funny. I don't know if that was...
Yeah, I totally forgot that was a thing with the other game, but I just never did.
Yeah, it just the first time it's cute, and the times after that it just kind of is like, okay, I get it. It's funny though to think that somebody slaved like away for like 100+ hours writing fucking like notes for the chests.
I mean, it gets
poor soul.
that's good personality.
Yeah, good content. Yeah, and you go
Bas-
through the whole dungeon. Unless there
and-
was something else you wanted to mention.
No, at the end of the dungeon, you see Kurt and it's like, oh, what are you doing here? It's like, aha, you came for me, bracers.
Yeah. You
Something
must
like that.
fight me because I am your enemy. And then they're like, oh, Kurt, you're here? And he's like, oh, yeah, 100%. I'm going to fight you now.
Yeah,
It's
and
just
then,
like, way to break character, Kurt.
yeah, and then you fight him. He uses like the spheres that Louis had using the previous game. So it's like, ooh, here's the new stuff that you're eventually going to be able to learn. Fun.
See, you got that. In my game, he used the same like defense skill over and over and over and over and over again, and that's all he did. So I couldn't hit him, and he didn't hit me. So I had to throw fireballs at him until he died. I saw nothing interesting, and I'm pretty sure the bosses in my game were bugged, but
I think you just got lucky
maybe, yeah.
because like
Definitely later.
I actually saw the mechanics of all these fights.
Uh,
I guess you're just built different.
Yeah, of course I am. Like, why are we even like spending time on this conversation? I'm built like a god, obviously.
Yeah, you essentially just beat him and return back to base.
Yeah. And they're like, that must have been like all the training. Well, we did good. That was kind of weak, compared to like what he normally does. They were exhausted though, but I remember them talking about it being like, well, that wasn't quite what I expected. Nothing else really happens. You just kind of you head back, you eat a bit. Estelle talks about, or rather thinks about, the Wiseman, and I don't know if it's specifically that she thinks about Wiseman, the character, but she thinks about the idea that the Ouroboros is very powerful and that the person, the magic man, can steal like mind stuff or whatever, and how crazy powerful he must be because he explicitly was capable of doing it to Kurt. And to her, Kurt is extraordinarily powerful because they could barely beat Kurt with just the two of them, right?
Yeah, because
so this
Kurt is
other
a
Ouroboros guy
A
must be
rank.
crazy.
Yeah, Kurt is a A rank bracer, and this
Yeah,
is
that's
like
also revealed in this.
yeah, and also revealed that Annalise is rank F. I forget like where that is.
So
I guess the
only
trainees
top
don't have a
class.
Yeah. It's bracer ranking. Also, Kurt's nickname is the Artful Tactician.
Yep, because nothing streams tactician like standing in a corner going defense, defense,
Defense.
defense.
I mean, he gets better later. So
Yeah. Spoilers, Brain. Spoilers.
they played the prologue, so they already know.
After going and eating for a bit and having this discussion and this think, you guys all settle for bed. However, when you go down to bed, Estelle having her nice sweet dreams, which, by the way, we get another Estelle nightgown sprite, which is super
Great.
cute. I love it. In the middle of the night, we're attacked by the Jaeger Company. Fun fact, you can just choose to ignore it and go to sleep.
Oh yeah, I do like the options that you get in the prologue because
Yeah.
you can just choose to be dumb.
Yeah, you can be like, I just don't want to. I don't know how that would go because I didn't choose that option. I don't know if you did, Brandon.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Either way, Annalise comes in and she's like, hey, the fuck, get out of bed. Come on, let's go. We're getting attacked. And, you guys go downstairs. Estelle's like, yep, let me get everything going.
And then, like, once you go downstairs, you see Kurt limp in to the thing, wounded. It's like, damn, the Jaegers. And then they say, like, the Jaegers and the Gill are dire enemies. Like how he says dire.
And explicitly, what's really interesting is that, so the Jaeger in Liberl are outlawed, right? They're like a mercenary company. They're no good. However, in the rest of the world, it's okay for the Jaeger to operate. And the Bracers Guild exists outside of Liberl. So apparently, this is actually fairly common in neutral areas.
Well, a little bit of doubt based on, like, what happened. He could have just been selling. He could have been just selling it.
We're getting there. But yeah, so
but I don't
he comes
doubt
in,
it.
he's damn near dead, and then
a fucking
they
Jaeger bursts through the window.
leaps through the window.
Just, it caught me off guard. I was like, oh my god. They're going for it.
Yeah, and then I beat them to a pulp. I don't know about you. Yeah.
Same.
So when he goes down,
They do hit hard though.
yeah, they hit pretty hard. I had to heal quite a bit, but if you just like pace yourself away, he'll just run and never really get you. At the very last moment, however, a female Jaeger interrupts and throws a smoke bomb. And
it's not a smoke bomb; it's a knockout gas. I'm pretty sure.
I was about to say, important if you let me finish. The smoke bomb isn't a smoke bomb; it's a knockout bomb. So yeah, you can't see, but also that's because you're unconscious. So congrats.
It also, I kind of like in game, it looks like a flashbang almost because the whole screen is white. So it's like, what type of grenade are you throwing here?
Yeah,
it's like
and then,
a mixture of all three.
Yeah, it. You get back and it's like on fire, and there's a hole in the ground. It's like just everything. Yeah, and then so you finally wake up after being knocked out, and you're by a pool of water.
By a pool of water in a forest.
With lovely noises of birds.
Yeah, we're in St. Croix. Kronks, whatever.
Sequel.
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 I think this is I was about to say I think this whole thing is like French naming scheme because fucking
Yeah,
Lelouch.
I've been saying that since the start.
Yeah.
Like the Urbonian Empire is supposed to represent the Germans, the liberal kingdom is supposed to represent the French.
Yeah, but I think we're in like some canyon. I think Lelouch is
Yeah.
specifically a canyon, so I don't know like what specifically part of the country or which country we're at.
Well, we're neutral ground, and it's run by the Bracers Guild. So they also named it. So I guess
So
it's
it's-
dependent on the
so
culture
probably
of the Bracers
like-
Guild.
Maybe like part of liberal and part of another country, maybe is like a neutral ground.
Maybe?
Who knows?
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
But next to
seems
you is
that-
Annalise, who is also knocked out.
Yeah.
And she's dreaming about teddy bears and her grandpa.
Great. It seems like they stole all of our belongings, and there's no one next to us, which is intriguing. They knocked us out and then just kind of like
Weird.
saddest. To me, this was less weird. I don't know why. My brain was like, okay, I guess they left them in the forest and then
In
hid
my
all
head,
their
I was
stuff.
like, this must be a crazed hermit who's like, I'll shave them. I don't know why I was like, yeah, this is fine.
Yeah, because all their belongings are now gone and are in chests around the forest, which is
Yep.
very funny. Slightly annoying, I guess, because like you could
Yeah,
probably
you can
just
go
miss
through the
them,
forest and not have your gear by the time
but
you leave.
if you don't, you're just gonna die to
To
when
a
you
friend
exit the
that's
forest.
in the forest.
Yeah, when you exit the forest, you're stopped by a woman Jaeger, and basically during the fight, she has a gun, so it makes the fight so much more annoying because she can move and then shoot.
Yeah, and not only that, her plan when you get away from her is to shoot you. And her plan when you're close to her, I vaguely remember she just hits like a truck. So it's like you have two options.
And also
friendo.
knocks you back. Also knocks you back.
That's true, yeah. So it's just straight up like it's a tough fight. But if you have your health and you like health potions and you have full ES, is it EP? I think EP. You have full EP and you got your stuff from the woods. I recommend following a guide, but you can just wander around aimlessly.
I
Or lots of
recommend
cats
just
be scary.
playing it.
Then you get to beat the
Oh,
living tar out of
oh,
her.
Side note, you want to talk about the BP thing in this game? The bracer points.
Oh, like how strict it is? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, ladies and gentlemen, we at the Bracers Guild have a high standard for our bracers. And as a result, after reviewing the first chapter and seeing a little girl beat a coup and rising to senior bracer status in less than a month, we revised our process of selecting the top tier bracers and formally decided to make it, if you miss like 6 bracer points, you don't get S tier. And Cassius Papa is very unhappy with you, assumedly, considering the last game he also... I don't know if it would be... it might be Cassius, who's just like, blah, it could be somebody else. So you can't get S tier if you skip
Even
it.
if
So
you
you
do all the
basically
side
have to use a
quests.
guide if you want to get S tier. Which
Or
unfortunately...
or you intuit it.
Yeah, but you're not going to. I think I'm not using I'm using a spoiler-free guide for when I'm playing just to speed it up, so I'm not doing another like 60 something hours when Brandon's doing 30. And they basically stated if you miss 2 side quests, you get A+ at most ever. So you basically have to 100% the game in order to get S.
Which makes sense.
And that includes answering all of the bracer questions properly and getting every single
The
bracer
questions,
point.
though, is kind of insane. Because I think it was
Yeah.
a similar thing in the previous game. But, like, I don't think it was as strict to get rank
wasn't.
1.
It wasn't nearly as strict. You could fail every single question and still be fine. I got A+, I think, by the end of the game, the last game. Or S. No, I think I got S because I got the final reward. So I got S last game, and I failed tons of those questions. I even missed a side quest. But in this game, if you miss, I think 2, it's just done. So, yeah. Yeah, after whooping the female Jaeger.
She says, basically, we've kidnapped the artful tactician. And it's like, come find us. Ooh. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's find them. So
And
our
it's like,
first immediate
smoke bomb.
yeah, bam, smoke bomb. And then so our first immediate thought is like, let's head back to the base to see if they've occupied this, but kind of find out no one's there. It's kind of like abandoned. So we do a little investigation.
Well, that's not true. There's one man who fought
Well-
against
well-
the Jaegers single-handedly and survived by hiding heroically, mind you, in a barrel.
Wow. So
Our good man Robert, rest his heart, came
that's
to
what
us
his
in our
name
time
is?
of need. That's his name. I wrote it down. Our good man Robert, in our direst time of need, is there to repair our Orwells. I did not
Fun.
use him.
I think I maybe bought one or two. I don't remember. But they kind of conclude, okay, they're not here. Where could they be to hold them hostage? And it's like, maybe the abandoned fortress. It's like, cool. That's good. Robert does come in and is like, whines about his phone being broken because the phone's broken. We can't call for backup. So
Yeah. We have a radio receiver in the Orbital repair shop to go and contact the Bracers Guild. And apparently the wire's been cut. And well, I don't actually think the wire's been. I think they explicitly say the wire wasn't cut. It's just the machine was just blown to smithereens.
well, it looks beat up in like the sprite.
It's just bashed. But he's like, no, they messed it up. I can repair this. Just give me time.
Liar.
Hey, shh. Also, just to distraction. Smoke bomb. There's a book in the upstairs bedroom. Grab it. You'll get a chance later, but just grab it now.
Oh yeah,
Lucky Jack.
before we want to go to the
We'll talk about the books later.
does the article thing happen this prologue, or is it in chapter 1 that you find that stuff?
What article? Like the thing I got on the Liberal News, Volume 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this chapter. We can talk about it after everything's done. I've got a section where I wrote some notes specifically on it.
Okay. That is fair. We head to the Grimsel Fortress.
Yeah, Grimsel Fortress.
these names are great because like I don't care about the names, but like since I've run this podcast, it's like I gotta know like where I'm going at least, and these names are interesting because it's like you gotta
It's
name it
Grim
something.
Bad Grumpy Fortress. So dumb.
Yeah. You fight some enemies. You do a few
Why does
quote unquote
Grimsel
puzzles.
just sound like a really grumpy incel? It's a Grimsel. It's a doomer incel.
yeah, you do like a few quote unquote puzzles, like opening doors.
They have actual mechanics in this dungeon, or alluding to actual
Well,
mechanics,
there's
which is neat.
alluded to actual mechanics later. Well, like both in this because like you get night goggles, and then like you get into a dark area, and then it's like, oh, you put them on to a character. Then you got night vision, but only the person that has the night goggles can like attack the enemies because like the other ones are just blind, so they can't hit, which is pretty good. I feel like
and
that
that
would get really
happens-
annoying in like a long drawn out section, but for this small thing, this was neat.
Yeah, I like the idea that it alludes to future actual mechanics, because there's a couple other things I want to talk about later as well. But we
then
forgot
also-
to actually mention the very first thing that happens when you actually walk into the fortress. It's revealed that Annalise, basically we walk into a room, there's a console, we have to open the fortress door, we plug in some stuff, and Annalise and Estelle have a quick conversation about being sneaky and being quiet and making sure that they're not screwing things over. As a giant metal door is opening, by the way, in a heavily guarded fortress. And it's revealed that Annalise and Estelle were both trained by Shara, and that Annalise was explicitly trained by Shara in depth. And so they kind of
Oh,
share a
yeah.
moment over that. Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. And then that's when you get into the room with pitch black darkness. And then after that, we find a key card.
Key card, which is a key item that's introduced, that could be either neat or infuriating for puzzle solving later. We'll see.
I'm vaguely reminded of the door that I refused to click on accidentally, which is effectively a key item in the same kind of instance. You need the thing before you do the thing, and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you get it. And every single part of the game is like, hey, in case you've never played a video game before, this thing matters, and you should keep in mind that it does. It's very silly.
Mm-hmm.
But you interact with these things manually, so it doesn't just happen. You have to go into your inventory and go, blah, I want to use it in this room, which is interesting. Yeah, it's basically like a was it a point and click adventure?
Yeah,
except you don't point and you don't click. You just go into your inventory and go da 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 and see what happens.
Essentially, old point and click things. It's like, does this thing work for this situation? Whatnot. Also, a point that I forgot to mention: you get stops before boss fights now, because you got one before Kurt, and then you got one before this fight as well, which is like so nice. It's like it's a real video game.
They did something crazy. They hired a game designer instead of 30,000 storyboard artists.
I don't mind, because like I feel like Trails is like a unique experience playing it. Like not many like games do it, but it feels more like kind of like you're on like a guide. You're kind of like on a guide, like just kind of like going through the motions instead of like what you expect from these games.
It's like a theme park.
Yeah,
it's like, here's the attraction of the hour. You're gonna go through the theme park, then you're gonna get a nice little story or a song or whatever, or sometimes a play with an androgynous male lead who will eventually drug you, and then you go and fight the boss, just like a real Disney park ride. It's not complete without beating Goofy. Gosh. Particularly Goofy. Oh, gosh.
What did I do?
Well, that's a strong sword you got there. Did you really have to light me on fire? Yeah. But before you go into the boss room, too, it gives you the demonstration of like, use the key. And so you're just in the room, you heal up, and it's like, Estelle's basically like, I wonder what this does. And you have to click on it. And it's like, I'm going to put the key card in the keyhole. And then the door opens, and you can go in.
Yeah. You head into the room. We head into the room, and then we meet the guard, and it's like, "Wahaha, you got no backup. What are you gonna do?" And then you get an dialogue option, to make yourself either look really cool or really dumb. I made myself really dumb because, like, of course, smoke signals. We made a smoke signal. It's like, we didn't see no smoke signal. It's like, damn, you got me.
I was going to choose a different option, but again, I'm doing a guide so I can get a higher bracer thing because I want to see more of the game. I don't know what the wrong option is beyond that one, but the correct option in the case was apparently we have backup still.
Well, it's just like, we don't need backup.
We don't need backup because we have an automatic system where if we don't talk to people in so much time, then they'll send bracers over. And apparently that works. So that option is the correct one. Then you beat the tar out of this guy.
Yeah, and then you fight this guy. He can be a pain, mainly due to his last second. I hate that these enemies can just have like, okay, let me heal myself for a turn. And it's like the exact amount that like you'll do damage to him. So it's like you lose a turn, essentially. And it's so annoying because like this, like, Alex fucking bodied this guy due to you got so
Tactics.
lucky.
Tactics and skill.
Because like he wasted like movements going towards one character and then going to the other one, and just because like that didn't happen with me. He just like fucking aggroed one character, and then I had to like constantly have Estelle heal Annalise while Annalise did damage.
I put them between him, so it was like he'd go for Estelle, and then the next turn he'd turn around and go for Annalise, and he just repeated that.
It's so annoying because he has a long range attack as well that he like only used once. He used it like 3 times on me, and it does so much damage. He almost
did kill Estelle. He almost killed Estelle. She was one hit away, and he missed. And then I won the next turn.
Yeah, I did not get luck, and yeah, it can be real.
It's not luck, it's skill. Just get good. Just don't get hit, facepalm.
After the fight, two other Jaeger Corps come out and congratulate us, and it turns out this whole operation was a setup. It was the actual final training. This was the bonus training, essentially, that Kurt was talking about, that we didn't mention, but he mentions like, we're going to do like a bonus training by like the forest.
He did say by the forest, didn't he?
Yeah, which
My
looking
God,
back, I was
we
like,
really didn't think that through.
well, it's not like I'm like hyper analyzing every single piece of dialogue while I play this game.
Yeah, we aren't no Joshua. We didn't even explain everything, really, technically.
And thank God for that.
I'm so sorry, Joshua. We have failed you. Except you're kind of weird, so I'm not as sorry.
It's Karna and Grant.
Our favorite character, Grant.
Grant. So that means the guy that we were fighting was Kurt again. So essentially, the two boss fights this prologue were Kurt and Kurt.
Kurt and enemy Kurt.
Oh well, Kurt, Karna, Kurt. Because
Yes. Kurt, Karna, enemy Kurt.
because it makes sense.
Giant
Because
enemy
like
Kurt.
Karna's whole thing is the guns, and so her whole boss fight was a gun.
Also, for some reason, Karna like really dialed up the sexiness when she was a Jaeger. I don't know what was
she's
going
having
on with her
fun.
there.
She's having
yeah.
fun. She's having fun in the RP.
It's just really fun because like in the previous game, she did not strike me as that, and then in this game, I was like, "Is that Shara? Like, are you okay?"
It was all the simulation of a real world scenario. What real world scenario of
I wrote-
this?
I wrote the Lalokla training regime is revealed to be a last-ditch effort to bestow the magical power of PTSD on the trainees by Kurt.
It's like, what? Do you have to be so intense that you have to break a window every time? I guess.
Yeah, because then the other two people come out too. Robert comes in and Phyllis comes out and she's like, "Did I do good? Did I do good being a dead woman?"
No,
And Robert's like, "Yeah, I was just really fascinated about your orbals, so I was supposed to like go out, but I didn't want to."
I took a break for the day.
Yeah.
So
Also, it is revealed at this point that Karna says the Jaeger and the Bracers are constantly at war. So, yes, probably hammed up, but also potentially some kernel of truth.
yeah, some kernel of truth, not like this happens on the regular. Like
Yeah,
Kurt,
we have a little bit of infighting on the down low. Or outfighting, I guess.
I would be surprised if Bracer said infighting with how many branches there are.
Yeah, especially their Urbonia and the liberal one.
Yeah, I'm really interested in the Imberna branch. For like who's even like there.
If they even exist.
They'll exist soon, I guess.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's like the inverse, where like the Jaegers are really big in Urbonia. I mean, first off,
Yeah,
the
but-
Jaeger sounds very Urbonian.
Yeah,
But
I think
secondly,
Jaeger is German.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, so that would make sense.
Yeah, but also like the only other country that we've seen people from beyond, you know, the great and powerful husband that he is, Olivier, and Xander, I guess, who's
Yeah,
also a pretty good character.
Like Calvid.
Yeah, we've seen Zin from Calvid or Calzad or whatever the hell it's called.
It's
I think
Calvid.
It's Calvid.
It has,
Yeah,
it has a V.
yeah, and they're really friendly with us. So like Olivier might be just weird, which he definitely is. That's not. I'm not even gonna say. I'm gonna retract that statement. Olivier is weird.
He is.
We don't know if he's a good reflection.
Also, he has a
of
French name
Urbonia.
and like a German thing, so that's
No,
interesting.
it could be Oliver. Now that he's revealed to
no.
be German, and Olivier could be the prior one, because I think now it's Olivert. Before it was Olivier.
No, it was never Olivert. There's no.
It was absolutely Olivert. There was a T on it.
I think you're forgetting the. You know his second name. I don't know what his second name is. It's
No,
always
he's
been
already told us the second name. When he was in disguise, he was Olivier. Now he's Olivert. So he put a French spin on his name when he was in Liberal. And then,
I don't think this has been. I think you're using information that you know, because I don't know
No,
what his
it's-
second name is.
it's in the game. He's Olivert. He reveals it when he's talking to Shara.
Do I have time to look through this? Probably not.
I
Let's
have
go.
it right here.
The screenshot.
Huh?
The screenshot of the moment, or are you looking at his Wikipedia entry?
Look at his Wikipedia entry.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Hold
I.
on.
So this is information that I just don't know.
Oh shit! Did he not actually reveal this in the first game?
No, no, Alex, you know this because you looked at his Wikipedia entry.
I didn't mean to.
And you keep making stuff up. Anyways, this whole bit is gonna be cut out. Anyways.
Just no. What you got to do is you got to bleep it every single time I say his name.
I don't want to give myself work.
You're really funny. All right, fine, whatever.
Okay.
So
And-
regardless, cutting out this whole bit, continuing my train of thought because otherwise it'll be weird. We've only really seen a nation that's kind of peaceful with us, and a nation that may be aggressive with us, but Olivier is kind of bad at showing anything about the nation, and our only interaction with Xander has been like minimal. So we have no idea effectively how the Bracers Guild and such are handled in Arbonia. So it'll be interesting seeing if it's the opposite for the Jaegers. Because I know that they said specifically that they caused a lot of issues in the war.
So that's it for our training, and we got some first class tickets back home to Liberal. Let's go, woot woot. And then we cut to an unknown location in the Liberal Kingdom.
With a helicopter.
Yeah, it looks like a helicopter, like some flying machine.
It's not an an aircraft. It's a helicopter.
Yeah, I don't remember the specific aircraft. It's probably a helicopter.
It's so silly. It's like in those movies where it's like everybody's wearing the suits and it's like, oh my god, it's the big bad guy. He's got the suit on and he comes out. It's the helicopter's landed down. You're in the middle of goddamn nowhere, but it's an island for some reason.
I do
and there's like the
remember-
rock that's jutted out.
I do remember the the person walks down on like a escalator-esque thing downwards.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's. Anyways,
Yeah.
the aircraft lands.
Basically, a
a
child
river-
steps out of an aircraft.
It's
Campanella.
it reveals to have a green-haired kid named Campanella.
Sorry,
Campanella.
one more time.
Campanella.
There you go.
They have a red marking under their eye and have like slightly, it's similar hair to Kurt in a sense, but like slightly greener instead of like a yellow tinge. Also, this person reminds me so much of Schrodinger from Helsing. It's just like a fucking cat boy in that one.
He definitely has that kind of like aesthetic. He reminds me of like what's his face off of like Black Butler.
Celine or
Just like
Different-
the
or different-
idea of a kid that is surprisingly competent and
Oh,
has
Celine.
messed up things with his eyes.
yeah, Celine.
Yeah. Except less like weird yaoi stuff. So
You
but
don't
it's
know.
revealed by Louis, who we were talking about before, and they don't even like mention that it's no longer what was even Lawrence.
What? Okay. Well, for once Campanella. Oh my God, Campanella. Once Campanella lands down, they're welcomed by Mr. Blade Lord himself, Louis, formerly Lawrence.
Which they don't mention. It's just Louis.
It's just Louis. It's just suddenly Louis now. And also, he's now in the fit that was the Silverhand man that saved the Orf. Oh my God! I just connected something in my head right now. Oh, that makes a lot of sense why he did that.
What?
Why Louis helped the people escape the orphanage.
Cause Hamill?
Yeah, because he's an orphan.
Spoilers for like 5 minutes into the podcast.
Yeah, that just hit me. It's like, wait, why did he do that? It's like, oh, that's why. I have some more thoughts about that later, but right now,
Yeah.
uh,
This
Campa-
kid is nuts.
yeah, no, Campbell was the one responsible for the goose chase in Ambrodia.
Yeah. His whole part of the plan was literally toying with Cassius.
Which is great, but Cassius was too persistent and then basically broke Jester, the group that we heard last game. That whole section's essentially just gone because throwing that against Cassius, no.
Yeah, and it was like an elite group of, I guess, the Jaeger
Yeah,
that was controlled by Campanella, which is interesting. Is he actually directly associated with the Jaeger Corps?
who?
Campanella? Because he leads Jester. Leaded. They're dead now.
Guess. I don't know if like Wiseman gave them that.
Yeah, I can't imagine Wiseman with how many times it's like, my dad. I highly doubt that Wiseman could go. Actually, never mind. He literally has the ability to wipe memory. I'm a moron. Moving swiftly onwards, guess who's also here?
Well, before that, it seems like all the members of the organization are now liberal, and they've
Or
all
wherever
met
the
up
hell this is.
except Campanella. There's the Phantom Thief, the Dire Wolf, the Bewitching Bell, and the Angel of Slaughter, just to name a few.
Yeah.
Those are
Some
all
of these
very
are not quite like the other. I like how the Phantom Thief is, by the way, the same one from the first game. So he went from like petty crime and puzzles to high stakes end the world.
I feel like
This
he
is
was
the guy who stole 3 books from a library.
It's really always part of it.
It's part of my master plan to steal the world. Like, what?
Yeah, and then the conversation moves over to like to Joshua, and it's like, yeah, it seems he's playing hard to get, avoiding the organization like the plague. You think he'll come back or confront us? And then like Louis is like, he's not a problem. He's dealing with his own bullshit. And then Wiseman butts into the convo and is like, thanks for good job on distracting Cassius, even though broke this unit.
You failed. Yeah.
Not necessarily failed. They essentially got what they wanted out of the whole situation. And then
this whole next section is effectively a dude going like, you should join our evil scheme, and the kid going, ooh hoo hoo, I love seeing a bunch of grown men fall to pieces because they all want their own thing, and like making fun of the whole idea of a bunch of evil people working together, which Wiseman responds with like, yes, this is doomed, like this is gonna work but barely, we are dysfunctional. And the kid's like, perfect, I will join, I love dysfunctional groups. That's this whole scene.
it's great, but there's like an underlying thing that I both enjoy and very interested in how this is going to evolve. Campolella describes himself as Enforcer Number 0. Campelli the Fool, as Wiseman says. And if you know what number 0 means and the Fool, that means some tarot bullshit is involved. It seems like that all the enforcers are based on our arcana, because they go like number, like they specifically number 0 the Fool, which is like literally the first major arcana of the Fool. You know what Joshua's number is, Alex? Do you remember what?
The Grim Reaper? I don't know, death?
Yep. He's number 13, death. Things. I have a little thing for fucking...
Did you go
tarot.
through them all and like...
Oh no, like I'm part on you tarot knowledge and like what
Joy.
what could mean for, I guess.
Thanks, Brandon. I've always wanted more knowledge of tarot cards. As a man of science and hard beliefs and technology, I could not be more ecstatic right now.
Well, I mean, the whole thing with tarot cards is like one of the major readings is the Fool's Journey. Zero goes from the Fool, and then eventually goes through a journey to tame the world, the final like arcana, and then there's different like steps along the way. It's kind of like the hero's journey, in a sense. And one of the stops is death, which is kind of like described as like, because like death doesn't mean death in necessarily in like the whole tarot card things. Death kind of means kind of like a rebirth, in a sense of like a changing. Let me get like the specific like it's like changing a thinking from an old way into a new way, in a sense. But there's also like a reverse meaning, because like tarots can be like reversed, because like in the upright means kind of like a progression or like a death of like a new way, and then the reverse position is like can be like interpreted as like a stagnation or like an ability to move or change, which is like interesting if you like apply that to Joshua, because like it's kind of like both, because like Joshua's kind of like right now kind of like in like a form of stagnation where he's kind of like going back to his old ways and not really like changing like he was previously, in a way. So I think I feel like
I don't know if
that's
it's necessarily stagnation, because the way he's going about this is completely different to what was happening
I
prior.
mean, like, he's
it's
going-
more like a rejection of his previous way, and the way he's doing it is by like doing a forcible like reconstruction. He's doing the same thing that like a bunch of people do when they look upon themselves and go, "I hate myself. I just have to do something."
yeah. So like
So
it's kind
I think it's the exact opposite, but it still has the same meaning.
yeah, yeah. Like it can, like he was definitely like in he was definitely like in like a more like reverse state, like when he was like with Wiseman in like the 2 year period. And then
This guy's
the
such a tragic backstory for 2 fucking years.
the Fool is an interesting one to give like this type of character with Campelli or Campanella, because usually it's like, oh, you're like the almost like the protagonist of like this type of story, like you're there for like the most room of growth, the most potential and whatnot. But like there's also like the reverse meaning of like almost being like a trickster, or like you kind of like live in the moment, be spontaneous and adventurous, but you may do so in regards of like consequences to your actions, and like putting like stuff at risk, which is like, I guess like Campelli is like more like the reverse side of the Fool, like someone not really willing to change but like being reckless with it, because that's kind of like the vibe I get with the personality from them. But yeah, I thought that was neat. At first I
It
was
could
like,
also just be a literal interpretation of the Fool, because they literally make him out to be something like a Joker-esque villain. I want chaos for the sake of chaos.
well, like the interpretation of like the Fool is like they almost like the, not like heroic thing, but like someone willing like to change on like a journey, and I don't really think this character is gonna do that.
No, I don't think so either, but I do think there's a possibility at the very least that they could have both a literal and a metaphorical interpretation.
because when I was like, oh my god, they're fucking Joshua's death. Are you going that on the nose? But like when I've read into like the death arcana more, it's like, it kind of actually fits with him. Actually, I was like, fair play. It's kind of like very funny. It's like you give like the edge of your character the death arcana. But it's usually,
I was about to say, like, I'm 90% sure you're reading too into this, because
I don't think
100% feel like they're gonna just, because like change for the main character is gonna happen.
well, it's more like a death of like the old self into a new self in like the journey. You discard the old for the new. It's kind
Yeah,
of like
I
the
don't know. I
step
feel
of
like
death.
this is a bit of a coincidence. To be perfectly
I-
frank,
well,
like
no,
normal
they've
tarot,
done
I think
the-
it's purely coincidental
They've
because like
done
the
this
Fool does
inten-
not seem particularly like that, and also
the
there are like
reverse
30 different
meaning-
interpretations of tarot cards.
Yes,
Like
there
any
is.
particular one is not the correct one.
Obviously, yeah, but like just more like the popular interpretations, like what they potentially are like going for, which I think are which is neat and interesting, like what other characters are going to represent, like what type of thing. But that's my whole tarot segment. That I thought was really funny in the
He
moment.
gets a tarot segment, and I can't talk about the news.
I gave
The
you,
injustice of this world.
bro. I gave you time to. I literally said
I talk about side quests, and he cuts it, but he gets to talk about tarot cards. Woe is me. I'm just joshing, man. I don't care.
I like tarot cards. Tarot cards are fun.
Yeah, apparently. I have learned that today. It is not just a passing interest. It is like a full part of your personality that I've never unlocked.
Not really. I don't really know that much about. I know like the barest essentials of the major arcana. I don't really care to like look into like minor and like other stuff because it's fucking like 70 cards and like I don't like the tarot in like the like fortune telling reading. I like it in like the story aspect and what it can like mean for like archetypes of characters. But anyways, that whole scene kind of ends with Alex, with how Alex described it.
I thought you were gonna say with Alex as like in place of Campanella, like you just made like a slip of the tongue. And I was like, yes, I am chaos. I think Louis mentions Joshua at some point too.
Yeah,
I know
talked
Wiseman.
about that. Yeah, talked
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, basically Wiseman is just like, yeah, join us. Campanella's like, gleefully, of course. So I guess we'll see Campanella at some point in the future.
Yeah,
And
probably.
then we cut to Joshua.
Yeah, they're in the thing, so we're definitely fighting them this game.
Oh yeah, 100% we're fighting Campanella. Yeah, we cut to Joshua, who is
Well, first we cut to a new scene where the Sky Pirates are kind of like wandering around like a ruined, kind of like just ruins. You can't really like parse it, but you're walking in like a ruined village, and then the
a
camera.
very small village. It has like a building.
Well, we only see a building of it.
But they have also mentioned that it is so small that like nobody knows of this place.
It's a small
The
village.
travesty that happened here. Like the graveyard has 4 stones.
Camera pans over to Joshua over a grave in his new fit, the scarf fit.
Yeah, he's got a white scarf, which I don't know, something signifies something. I know in Japanese culture, white is actually death.
I feel like a death is a lot. I feel like I
There's
hear a lot of
death
things
around
that
Joshua. No,
Yeah.
but specifically, I remember reading about that because in what's that game that came out a while back? The samurai one, where it's like you're the
Ghost of
samurai and you.
Tsushima.
Ghost of Tsushima. The reason that it's like Ghost, and he wears all white is specifically because he's supposed to be the samurai of death. So that's why everybody's like, he's the ghost. He's come back from the dead. That's why he wears all white. So if Joshua is wearing white right now, that actually signifies death more than his previous getup did. Which I guess makes sense. He also has this weird like mirror look. To
Oh
his
no, he
eyes.
has glazed eyes currently,
Yeah.
like kind of like similar to like how they were last game. And he's here to pay respects to a person named Karna or Karin. Karin?
Karin?
Yeah, to Karin. Karin. Karin.
Karen?
Karen. Karin.
Karin.
I think it's like
Karin.
yeah, I think it's Karin because a recent show that I have it's also a similar name. But anyways, he's here to pay respects to a person named Karnan, which is probably the reason why his heart broke. I don't know which, because it's like not really like mom, but like probably like
I knew you were gonna bring this up the moment you're like
It's
that better have made it into the final episode because that was
I
like
I don't remember.
we fought on that for so long.
But
It's his mom. I'm calling it here.
it's probably his caretaker, or something like that. When the Sky Pirates come up to him, and apparently, Josh is getting a ride around with the Sky Pirate siblings, since
Yeah,
he
he
helped
basically
them.
adopted them all.
Well, well, he basically helped them out avoid the like royal army. So it's like they're here to like repay him for doing that. It's like you are my pawns, or well,
Yeah,
I
he
don't-
fucking calls them pawns, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And the fucking Josette is like, "And I thought you were hot." Like,
Yeah.
so
yeah, just still kind of copes, and it's like, man, I used to like you, but now you're just a jackass. They also call fucking. I think after the pawn line or something like that, like Dawn calls Josh Mr. Chessmaster. Which is like, is this your new fucking name, or is he just making a bit? I don't.
I think he's just making fun of Joshua, because who the hell can take being called a pawn seriously?
I don't know if that was immediately after though, or something, or like, if that's like what. Because I wouldn't be surprised if like he has a new, if that's what he's like his new nickname is, Chessmaster, to go against the Grandmaster or something like that. But
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything in my notes about that.
But the most important part of this whole thing is the Sky Pirates ask about this village, and Joshua responds that this place used to be called Hamel, which is the thing.
The thing that the queen cannot, like,
Or
pay
specific-
low for. Or Louis.
Yeah, and this is the thing where it's like, oh, this is probably both Joshua's and Loe's like. Well,
We're gonna fuck up his name forever. Louis.
yeah, Louis.
God, I have no idea. Lou.
I'm convinced at this point that Louis and Joshua are brothers from like the same place.
Yeah, me
pretty
too.
I'm pretty sure like in that flashback it's Joshua and Louis in like
That's why I think it's the
Grandmaster-
mother thing. I think they were orphaned.
Yeah, no, they're like orphaned, and then Karna's probably like their caretaker.
Or Karen. Or it's like maybe they have like a shared sibling. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a found family thing in an orphanage, and then
Yeah.
the sister died, and then they both were like, "Oh, we're edgelords now." I could see
Yeah,
that.
that's probably most likely that makes the most that connects the most.
Yeah, especially because Estelle, like, he was super excited by Estelle, so
Oh wow,
maybe that goes like even further.
wow, that I feel like that makes even more sense now. that fits even better in the pie.
Well, I am shockingly good at guessing random shit about trails. So we'll see. He has yet to be revealed to be Sieg, though. So,
He's not C.
Louis is Sieg.
Louis is not Sieg.
Louis is absolutely Sieg.
That one's dead in the water. You have to admit.
No.
After this,
It's not over until Sieg and Louis are in the same room.
technically they were. They literally
they
were
weren't.
because
No, they weren't.
because Chloe fought with Sieg against Lawrence. The Lawrence fight.
No, she didn't.
She did.
No, you didn't have Chloe in that fight. You had Shara.
You had Shara, Estelle, and Chloe. Remember the comment?
No, I think you're confused because that was Princess Claudia.
I'm gonna leave.
It's an easy mistake to make, though. I've seen
What are you, Estelle?
smarter women than us who have made that mistake in front of her.
Anyways, the scene's basically over unless you have anything more to add to the scene.
No, I'm actually really excited for the next scene because there's yet another one.
Yeah, because now it's chapter. They also go like, now that we've made a pit stop, it's now time to go back to Liberal. Kingdom,
and you
and
see
then
Lieutenant Schwartz.
well, no,
and
then chapter end.
Okay, sorry. We have to do the fucking. Okay, Brandon, tell us the order of the title cards, and then I'll finally be allowed to talk about the fucking interesting part. Go on.
Well, I
Lay
mean,
it out. The people need to know that it says chapter end, and then you can save, and then you get to do the second chapter, and you get the whatever, and then you can do it. Go on, go.
well, I was gonna do that, and then it's like this was gonna re-reference what I said earlier
Okay,
about like the whole save thing, but whatever.
yeah.
But
No,
chapter
go ahead.
end, and then we get our standard post-credit scene.
I mean, we can even ask whatever audience we currently have. Hi, by the way, if you're still here, congrats. You're the good ones. Like whether or not they would want us to stop at this point, or to continue on, or to, right?
We'll just continue the same way. We're doing it anyways.
All right, fuck you guys. Get out of the comments. We don't want to see you.
It seems like you're really interested in the scene, so I'll let you take over this one.
Yeah. Okay. So my tech bro nature is coming out. Yeah, I did really seem interested in that scene, didn't I? I like cursed you out and everything. I'm so sorry, buddy. It's just big monster. It's big mecha. Come on, man. Wait, so Kevin and Lieutenant Schwartz are coming down from an elevator ride. Kevin is saying something. I don't remember what he's saying. Anyway, they go into the underground area, the ancient ruins where all of the robots were, and they're walking through. I didn't actually make that many notes about the section. So, ironically, the only thing I can mention is that they talk about Kevin's job as a priest and how he's not really a priest. Or at least it's like
He's not
he's
wandering
a quote,
priest.
wandering priest, but he doesn't actually like teach the kids or whatever. He's stacked and he's got like weapons and stuff. His main job is implied to be something relating to the investigation of ancient technology.
Yeah, it's interesting because like Kevin states that he's close to like a family called the Oslees family, and that's like one reason why they're here, and like one reason why he went to fucking it was either Rouen or Relent, where he got talked to the mayor.
It's relent.
Yeah, Relent, and got the Kronos rod from the mayor, and it's like,
Oh, then that would be Rouen.
oh, that's Rouen, Kronos rod from them, which is I think an artifact, and then like Schwartz says like there was like some agreement or something. I wasn't clear on like Kevin's whole deal yet.
Yeah.
But he's kind of like someone who was sent by like, because he stated earlier in the chapter that like he was sent by like the central force to come here.
Yeah, it's like there's like
for
a
this thing.
secret group of the Vatican that investigate technology and like its impact on the Septian society kind of out of view. So effectively, if you want to think of it this way, it's Intelligence Division 2 Electric Boogaloo. But for tech.
I guess. And then
And
Schwartz
maybe
shows
the good guys?
and then Schwartz shows him the ruined mech, and Kevin says it's similar to a robot excavated in Calvid.
He also mentions the towers, and he mentions them in a way
Oh
that
yeah,
is similar to what I said, where it's kind of like the towers in the room represent the towers in Liberal.
yeah.
Or that's what his thinking is too, which is cool because called that.
Well, I also said that, so
Well, yeah, of course. I'm not belittling you, Brandon. You're a genius little smart man. So am I. I'm saying we're both genius little smart people.
it's not really that smart.
I think we're geniuses. I think that nobody else has thought of this, and especially Kevin. Like he asked us for help because we're just that good.
Anyways,
The writers actually consulted on us because they wrote themselves into a corner and they couldn't figure out whether or not they wanted the radio towers to be like cell or if they wanted Wi-Fi. And we thought that radio for cell made more sense, but we'll have to see what they actually ended up using in the final product. Anyway, go ahead.
Kevin, when he analyzes the robot, or like, I think something similar. It's like all this stuff is kind of like from the ancient Zerm Zermurian
Zemurian?
Zemurian, yeah. Like all this stuff
Zemurian,
is
yeah.
from the ancient Zemurian civilization from 1200 years ago. So there's your date. If you're
Ooh.
that was
So
like
what's
your
that?
date.
Like, they're currently at 1100, so that'd be negative 100.
Yeah, I get. So it's like, was
Like
there like fucking
100
what's their
BC,
fuck?
I guess?
Yeah, or
Before
or no, it'd be A
Eidos?
before Eidos. So
Yeah, but
BA.
Eidos came in the year 900, I think. Was it 9 or 500? I think it
I
was
don't know.
500 because the Dark Ages lasted until the 500, and then like the modern form of Eidos came around 900. So it wouldn't be before Eidos. Maybe like before Septia. I don't know. Regardless, it's
Yeah.
before recorded human history, effectively, by about 100 years.
Yeah,
Did we
and
talk about like our theory regarding what they were?
with the civilization.
Like the Zemurians? Like how we think that they might be aliens or something?
Yeah, we did that in Spoilercast.
Alright, cool. Watch that.
Kevin describes this whole thing, or like what the church kind of like views this whole like this technological thing is like a gift from the goddess given too early, is kind of like their view of all like this stuff.
Basically, the church is going to take all the stuff and hoard it for themselves. They're the Brotherhood of Steel. I actually wouldn't be surprised if that's basically what they are.
When the gospel was put into kind of like that like center system, all the towers went down, and then then Kevin's like, okay, I think I understand what's going on, and he theorizes that the Aurelia, the powerful ring, can be tracked through a trail of Septian veins that run through the earth due to the system being activated. So it's not like so like this whole thing based on like Kevin's thing was like, oh, we're using this to unlock the invisible like path or visible trail to the ring. That's his whole idea.
I don't know how much I like that because that implies that they knew where the ore was, or they just like left it while they were digging,
Well,
or they placed it there.
it's
Like by septium ore, could it just be like they laid down giant wires and we just assume it's ore?
or maybe like the ring like has like so much like energy that like septiums like reacts to it, so it creates like an
Or maybe
invisible
it's just
line
Wi-Fi.
due to like that center
Is it
console
Bluetooth
thing.
connected?
I don't know. They built that giant robot to defend this whole system to like not track down this ring. I don't know why the ancients did this. Like, okay, we're gonna do this elaborate thing so like so this ring can never be tracked down, but also so it can be tracked down. know?
Yeah. Yeah, it just seems like standard ancient tech MacGuffin rather than anything that's
Yeah.
fully thought out. Because
It's
even
neat,
like
though.
the statement of like what the ring is feels like they're just kind of like pushing it away so they don't have to think about it for now. Like what was it? Like the ring
Power
of-
of nature.
that controls nature for nature's sake. It's like that literally is a nothing sandwich. And now it's like, oh, they're running the rings. To be fair though, like we're putting a lot of stock into this. God knows if Kevin is even right. This
Yeah.
is just his working theory as a Septian, right?
Well, like, I mean, Joshua literally had a theory, and it's like, oh, yeah, no, my theory's right. So far, our theories have not been challenged in this series.
That's true. Yeah.
So we don't know, like, how the writers go about delivering information. If, like, okay, I do a theory, but, like, do we challenge that theory, or is the theory just correct? And so far, it's
Yeah, it's
been
basically
correct.
just like whenever a character's like, I have a theory, it's the writer going, okay, here's what's happening.
Yeah. Hopefully that changes.
Yeah, because this, I'm not sure how I feel about this currently.
I don't
Or at least
really
like
feel,
elaborating on it
like
would
I
be
didn't really
interesting.
understand this whole scene till like re-looking at it because it was just like here's ancient stuff, I guess.
I just straight up thought like they were cell towers or something. where it's like they just like propagate energy, and that's just what they do. And then you could like focus it somehow, and that's somehow linked to the ring.
I guess because that was, I guess, like why Wiseman was so interested in towers. It's probably just to locate the ring.
Oh, he was, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Are they just radar dishes? It's just a giant GPS system.
Just to find one ring to rule them all.
One fucking ring. It's also, I think he mentions there are multiple rings, aren't they?
A previous game, he doesn't mention it, but previous game, the Queen mentions a bunch of different rings, like 13 or something.
So currently, it's kind of like Lord of the Rings, except all the rings are Bluetooth connected and also have a GPS system.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that scene ends, and then we're done. Woohoo!
That's
Chapter
it,
1.
baby.
Yeah, that was Maiden's Resolve. And I forgot these chapters have names.
Yeah, I thought that was neat. Except for the pre-prologue, which I have in all caps. Why is this not named? In my notes.
It's the pre-prologue.
Speaking of, I guess it's the prologue's prologue. Speaking of, there are parts of the prologue we have not mentioned yet. I'm not sure if Brandon wants to keep this in the episode or not. He can do what he wants with this, but there are books.
Yes, books.
Many gribbly-grabbly books, and one thing that we decided that we were going to do in this, or at least not necessarily both of us, but I decided I was going to do, was in the last game, there were so many different opportunities beyond talking to NPCs and such that you could engage with the lore of the world as it was being developed. And I didn't feel a need to beforehand because, to be perfectly frank, the lore of the first game is shallow as hell. It's a couple named people and you hear about them. And that's not interesting. But in this game, there's enough going on now where I'm genuinely curious. So one of the things I decided I would do is I would read through a bunch of the books.
But do you think, based on the previous game's whole information, that I feel like in that sense it was well written enough that made you interested more in the world based off the last game?
Yes, but what I'm saying is that the last game's books weren't worth going through because they felt superficial at the time, whereas now they feel as though it's fleshed out enough where I would care, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yes, they did their job very well, and that's one of the reasons why I'm curious about doing it in this game, but I don't think I'd do it in the last game. Because I can't imagine the last game would even have anything interesting to say other than like more information about characters, because the last game was so character-focused and like vaguely world-focused until the very end, right? So, but yeah, so there are 2 books in this chapter that you can get. There is Jack's, the Gambler
Murder,
Jack.
or something.
Yeah,
whatever.
it's not interesting. I can summarize it as it's just like one of those Skyrim books where it's like the lusty Argonian maid. It's just like, it's there like 3 pages just to have something that's in the world that you can gush over. Basically, the story of Gambling Jack in the first book is there's a guy named Jack. He gambles. Then a girl shows up, and then the book ends. So it's like, okay. But there's a lot of interesting stuff that's going on in the news. So let's hop right into the news. There's the Liberal News Media Volume 1. The very first page explains that the army is going under a major transformation, which should not be surprising to citizens of the Liberalian Kingdom. As we all previously know, Cassius has rejoined up with the military and is attempting to reform it after the intelligence division kind of absolutely destroyed it. So, as such, it matches up quite nicely with what Cassius was saying in the prior game. As well,
in this game.
General Hacken is retiring. General Hacken? That's not his name. What's his name?
Morgan.
Morgan, that's it. General Morgan's retiring. Cassius is taking up his position. And the Liberal Bracers Guild is now allowed to engage in military operations as part of becoming more open with the military. So there seems to be the case where the citizens have kind of lost faith in the military after the intelligence division and have increased faith in the Bracers Guild. And so there's kind of a checks and balance system that's going on right now where you can't let everybody know everything there is to do with the military, because obviously it's a secret organization to an extent. If military goes out, you get
It
invaded
is not
again.
a secret organization.
No, but there's a security issue with knowing anything about the military of a foreign country, right? And the Bracers Guild are intercontinental, actually, full blown, international. So the Bracers Guild getting involved in politics to any extent is news and important. But it getting involved in liberal, where they are already very prevalent, is especially of note. Especially when...
Also concerning for many other nations. It's like, oh, hey,
Absolutely.
the Bracers Guild that, basically, I think founded in liberal is now going to help the military. I thought this was not part of the contract.
Yeah, literally. We had a whole discussion. I'm not sure when we had it, but there's this notion of like, so if all the different organizations exist across the different continents and the Bracers Guild are getting involved more politically, that was the main reason that all the countries were willing to have the Bracers Guilds in them in the first place, because you could not get involved in politics. But ever since the coup occurred and they stopped the coup, now the Bracers Guild and the political faction are basically like hand in hand. The Arbonians are technically friendly.
Not hand in hand. It's like more cooperation. It's not like an integration.
It's pretty close, because one is now the check and balance to the other.
Okay, where does it describe it as that, or are you just assuming
It's basically the Bracers Guild is now allowed to know information about the military, and they are integrated as a means of allowing security to... The way that the news describes it in the first volume is, we need a way for the military to have somebody to watch over it to make sure that it's not taken over, but we also need it to be secure. So the Bracers Guild are now cooperating with the military to open, or to allow the military to be more open. So basically the Bracers Guild and the military are such right now where it's like, they're cooperating, sure, but the Bracers Guild is there explicitly for checking the military to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. That's effectively what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like now there's two different... Because remember, like the entirety of the world, the way that it's structured is like an authoritarian dictatorship to an extent.
Monarchy, but, depends on your perspective.
It's pretty effectively a dictatorship, with the fact that they even use their military as a means of like controlling the population.
Yeah.
And like there's no
Autocracy.
police. It's just the military. It's an autocracy. Yes, that's absolutely correct. Not so much dictatorship, I suppose, because there's technically like closed elections, but that's its own thing. And there's technically like democratic stuff, but that occurred in feudal societies too, so that's not really meaning anything.
We don't think too much about politics over here in the liberal kingdom.
Yeah. I'm glad this is old Bracers Guild issues, because this makes my head spin. So yeah, that's interesting in its own right. Cassius becoming the leader of the military for what effectively seems to be the foreseeable future is also interesting, considering he stepped down from it. Mm-hmm. And the fact that the liberal Bracers Guild is becoming a check for the military is also interesting. However,
it
the
is
other
kind
piece
of
of news...
It is kind of funny because of like Richard's whole plan of like kind of like militarization of the country.
Yeah, because he effectively got what he wanted. Cassius is back in the army.
Yeah, he got what he wanted in the end, and like a more like stronger army, but not like... I don't know if they're going to get to like the power of like deposing like a real like military threat to like in Baronia.
In my opinion, the military is dead. Like, the point of this whole section, from my reading, is that the military is undergoing refactoring, and the Bracers Guild and the military are considered on par with each other now. The faith in the military is low as well. So the strength of the military cannot be lower right now. And as a result, the military is basically dealt with for the rest of the games. To me, it's like the game going like, this is now a background element. This will not occur to change or challenge anything for this game and potentially the next. Mm. And technically, Richard is correct in the sense, too, of like, the liberal kingdom just got weaker. But it's his fault. Which is interesting in its own right. And it's also interesting, too, because, with more demilitarization, even if it's happening accidentally, right? That means that the autocracy that exists might eventually be open to being challenged in a more open way. But that's more of like a political or cultural argument, and one that's probably not going to happen in the game. But yeah, we already basically covered the third piece of news, which is that the old general is gone, Morgan. He's retiring. That's the other piece. There's not really much to say beyond the Cassius things. And then the second piece of news, which is, I think, roughly as interesting. I just have to remember it quick. Yes, so non-aggression was agreed to be signed between all the nations. All of them. So that's Calvard. Not Calvin, I remember now, it's Calvard. So the Calvard Republic and the Urbonian Embassy are thinking of meeting up at a summit to sign non-aggression pacts with the Liberal Kingdom. And they're open to the idea prior to the military fiasco. So it's kind of like we are about to hit a stable point, but it may be disrupted, is my current reading of the thing. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like tension, just all around, which is neat. I like it. I think this is cool. Yeah. So far, the very first volume of Liberal News is 100% worth reading.
Because I remember reading the Liberal News like a little bit last time, and like one of them was like kind of like retelling like the events of like the chapter, like, oh, Sky Pirates defeated or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I kind of figured it'd be superficial like that, but in this game I was really hoping that they go into more of like, they've established enough of the world now where things can happen in the background and be very presently stated. So I was really hoping that they'd like allude to future events rather than do like a reflection kind of deal. So I'm reading this hoping to get some sort of prediction about what might happen next. My current standing is that I think that the Bracers Guild is going to collapse in Urbonia. I think that the Calvard Republic and the Liberalian Kingdom will probably team up, and Urbonia will declare war on the Bracers Guild. And if I'm going to go so far as to stretch it, I would say that it's probably the Vatican that is on the side of the Urbonian embassy, and they declare war on Liberal for something technology.
I feel like,
and potentially religious reasons.
Vatican. I feel like we shouldn't call it just the Vatican, but it is kind of what it is. But like, I feel like
they're basically what it is. Yeah,
they're just going to probably.
For God's sakes, the third game's art has a nun, like a Catholic nun, next to Kevin. So
yeah, I definitely think. I don't know if it's going to be like full on Ambrosian thing, or if it's like going to be like the fucking wise men behind the shadows, kind of like influencing this war between Ambrosian and Liberal, of him using his good old powers on like the Leaves Ambrosians, like okay, it's time to invade Liberal to like, I guess, find the ring more so, I guess. It's the only reason.
It might also be that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, that was it.
It might also be that they're just another threat, like so that you just have more and more. I'm not convinced the Queen is a good figure though.
She's the way that the game is reading. It's just gonna be good.
I feel like the Queen willfully let Richard be manipulated.
No. That's I don't think that I feel like the way that like they've built her up, I don't think be that way, because like I also thought similar things prior to the encounter, because it's like, oh okay, is like she getting manipulated by like Wiseman or something like that, and that's
because like why wouldn't she be, is my thing. Like, you can manipulate anybody and you go for Richard? Well, like, they don't have to be weak-willed because you manipulated Joshua pretty damn easily. Manipulated.
I think the thing is, like, the Queen's like just so heavily guarded that like they needed to get an in. Almost.
Yeah, but then they had an in. She was set off in her room. He could have just visited and say, I wanted to talk to you about some architectural stuff or whatever, or some artifact stuff. Like, he had the opportunity. They had taken over the castle.
But
he
was in the city.
His
plan worked.
For sure, but I'm saying that it was a silly plan to an extent.
Because,
if he
like,
went
in the
for
end,
Richard's
threats didn't really, like, help the situation, really. of like his whole like I'm gonna abdicate, you abdicate the throne. Like nothing in that sense really like went wrong, even though we foiled his plan. Nothing went wrong in Wiseman's plan of it.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like it's easier to get control over what he wants if he controls the whole goddamn monarchy. Like, would we have
Wiseman
even
can
investigated
really.
if the queen was just being weird? I feel like
We-
the
we-
character
we
of
need to
Wiseman is like
understand-
he's been given the strongest superpower ever, and the only thing that can like prevent him from doing the best, most optimal thing and just winning is by purposely nerfing him by making him just bad at making decisions.
I don't. I think it has to be like some weird condition of his powers. Has to be like some like specific thing.
Like maybe they have to have a broken heart or they have to have a desire or something. Because currently, the one mayor, he wanted stock.
Okay.
Richard
what did
wanted
Kurt,
the Urbonian embassy wanted a good defense.
What did?
Joshua had a broken heart.
What about Kurt then? Because Kurt was influenced by his thing
Well,
as well.
Kurt had amnesia. He wasn't influenced. Estelle
Well-
also had amnesia.
So like he
So
both
like
has
he
the
can
power
only
of
like
control
amplify
and
somebody's emotion regarding a particular topic, or he can only erase like minor memories. That's what it seems like so far.
yeah, that seems.
So I guess that means like the queen, if you amplify her emotion, what would you get out of that, right?
Yeah. So I think something that we were describing, like I think last chapter was like our theory of like the power of emotions is like our best lead in like how his powers can work that make any amount of sense in this situation. We still
Yeah,
don't
'cause
know
the
what
ability
happened
to
to that
just, like-
mayor. I don't know if he's like free or not. It's like like because like they don't really know about like Ouroboros because like not many people do. So like it's interesting. We'll probably get an answer this chapter because it's just so focused on this organization. And I'm really excited to see the like 12 other members of this fucking organization.
Yeah,
be
I'm
fun.
excited for an Organization 13 style, like, this cutscene you learn of this other character.
And it's like,
I
what is
mean-
their power?
Yeah, like there's got to be, there's only so many ways you can go with like 13 people in an organization. It's gonna be a bunch of like half allied. It's just gonna be the Kingdom Hearts organization. Like, a bunch of people who basically aren't allies but kind of are.
Yeah.
Who like know each other of like their special name or whatever and never actually fight the main character at the same time and just kind of show up at random. And one of them will inevitably become friends with the main character, and it's going to be Lou, and he's going to betray the organization.
Well, no, that's just Joshua.
No, Joshua is somebody who's already left. He's like Roxas. Like he was basically
I was literally
going
going to equivalent Joshua to Roxas.
Yeah, he's Roxas. Lou is going to be like a depressed Axel. Yeah.
He is like the most like potential if he's like a brother in a situation, you know?
It's going to be like it's going to be like a whole arc. I'm not sure if it's going to happen this like triplet, but
Oh, I think it's going to happen this whole like I think conflict. I know this conflict's going to be resolved in this chapter because I don't know what the fuck the third game's about.
yeah.
It's not about
A nun,
this,
I
that's for
guess?
sure.
Potential like weird fantasies of the devs about nuns. Battle nun? I don't know.
Battle Nun. I do like her design, so I wonder if we'll see her
with
this
leather
game.
belts.
We'll
Like-
probably see her this game. It'll be well.
arm
We
looks
didn't
like
see
a
Kevin
leg.
last game, and now he's really important. So you know,
Her arm looks like a leg, dude. That's a weird arm. Doesn't it?
I'm not looking. Anyways,
Oh, okay. Well, regardless, I guess that's probably the end of the podcast. Effectively, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, the
before that.
second. Okay, I'm getting shut up.
yeah. Just gonna do quick thoughts on the prologue itself. I enjoyed this prologue a lot compared to like a lot of previous chapters in like a lot of the other games got like a good amount of cutscenes, good amount of gameplay, good amount of like, okay, here's this new thing. Oh, here's this other new thing. Oh, here's like these, because we built up all these characters, so now we can have like individual scenes. It's like, ooh, this is interesting. Ooh, this is interesting. Instead of like, because we're less like solely focused on one perspective, and now we're going through multiple different perspectives, which is really nice. But still,
Yeah, it seems to
mainly,
be like 3 right now.
yeah,
Estelle, then Joshua,
and
then
then
Louis, I guess.
yeah, low
Or
or the
Wiseman, or whatever
organization,
they're doing. Yeah, Organization 13.
Ouroboros.
Sorry, Ouroboros. Yeah.
But yeah, no, this was like solid. Like,
Yeah. This is
Like,
probably the best they possibly could have done for an opening.
yeah, and besides like Estelle's whole deal in the opening, it was still pretty like decent opening. You go back, it was like, oh man, I felt some joy going back to that village and then just talking to everybody. It's like, oh hey Estelle, what are you doing here? It's like, you know, reasons.
Yeah,
And
I thought this was probably one of the better chapters just of the Trails series so far in general. There's definitely that notion of like literally everything is interesting. Not a single part of this was boring. Like the whole thing with the Jaegers was interesting. The new character and like I don't like tournament arcs, but I really like Organization 13's.
oh yeah,
I think
that's
they're
something that we
really
can
fun.
agree on.
Yeah, I love them because it's just like, it's literally, we want a bunch of Disney villains. We're going to line them up in a row and just rapid fire them, but they're actually going to be good. And it's just like, yes! I love Disney villain-esque, like Broadway. I'm the evil guy who has red hair, and I'm the evil guy who laughs weird or whatever. Like, I use a rake. Like, it's always nonsense. So I'm very excited for that. And all of the characters are neat, just individually too. I am stoked to see what happens with the Sky Pirates, personally.
Yeah, yeah, and see like how that side of the story unfolds.
I mean, I got the notion that they're generally good people that just went into a tough time
Yeah,
and had to kind of do something to survive. Because they only did petty thievery for so long until like
until
the dude was
you know
corrupted.
Wiseman.
Yeah. So they did like basically the nicest form of banditry they could. And then they got amped up, right? So I'm really curious to see how Sid is, especially in a game outside of Final Fantasy. I want to see what the other Sids are like.
Wait, which Sid? You mean Dawn?
His name's Sid. Is it not Sid? It's Dawn?
It's Dawn. Sid is
Holy
major.
shit.
Sid is a major of the Zeiss fortress, whatever.
Well, then, you know what? I'm dumb, regardless. He just looks like what Sid would look like in Final Fantasy games, doesn't he?
Yeah, he definitely gives like some Sid like engineer vibes.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to see where that goes. What's the thing you're most interested in seeing, like out of the story so far? I
think
really want to see
Wiseman's
the Louis
fucking
Joshua
deep.
dynamic.
I want to see fucking Wiseman's deal and more of the organization. Definitely is like what I want.
I really want to see more of Joshua and Louis. I want to see them talk and like figure things out. And
Instead of like a vague,
I'm totally
like,
expecting like an Anakin and like
Anakin and
I believed
Anakin,
in you. Like,
Anakin and Anakin situation.
Anakin and Anakin is the worst sounding thing. It sounds like a really like a YouTube video where you like get clips of Anakin
And then it's just
Talk to each
fighting
other.
himself. Alex, they're the same
my
character.
God.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, one of them's edgy and sad, and the other one's edgy and sad and murderous. So
I feel like he's more confident than sad.
Joshua?
No, Louis.
No, they're both depressed boys. They're both sad about Hamill. It's like to me, they're both two sides of Roxas. Or not Roxas, fucking Darkness Boy. What's his name?
Not yet.
Riku, that's it.
Okay. Yeah.
I got there. I do want to say personally, though, if you got this far, I would love to hear from you in the comments. We don't get a ton of them. We get enough, and I find them interesting to read through. So if you have anything that you want to say specific, as long as it's spoiler-free, we will be watching and staring at you intently as you type every single character. And the moment you press enter, I will be there behind you. But you can't see me. I'll flash away, but I'll be there.
You'll flash step.
Yeah, flash. I'll wave dance away. So yeah, I'd love to see more comments.
Thanks for listening to this episode, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.